soon as we are recording. Okay, this meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. The Board of Education is meeting electronically due to the local state of emergency as declared by Berrien County Board of Commissioners on March 24th, 2021. The public may participate in the meeting by joining the Zoom link listed above. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Upon prior request to the superintendent, the district shall make reasonable accommodation for a person with disabilities to be able to participate in the meeting. Requests for special assistance may be sent to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 5:30 p.m. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And as always, I ask that everyone unmute and say it along with me. I pledge allegiance
to the
flag
of the
of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
for which
it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson,
Present.
Vice President Bradley,
Present.
Secretary Triplett, present. Treasurer Creighton,
Present.
Trustee Bowens, Trustee Bowens,
Present.
Trustee Buchanan. We have a quorum.
Hey, you didn't call my name.
I'm sorry, I put an X by your name. I was filling in anything. I'm sorry, Trustee Rocket Martin.
Present.
I'm sorry, Ms. Rocket. We do have a quorum.
That was that administrative voice came out. I haven't heard that tone often.
I didn't recognize it. Hey.
I didn't either. I didn't know that was her.
You ain't call my name.
All right, we're gonna move it right along. We have a quorum present. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. If we could have the agendas, if you could scroll down a bit for me.
And I would agree, so we have to go back in the conversation and I want to make sure you
All righty, thank you. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
President Robinson, I would like to make a motion that we table one of the items on the agenda.
Okay, which would you can proceed. You have the floor, Vice President Bradley. Which particular item is that?
And that would be for the Black Wall Street zone. I would like to table it so that way we can have a presentation next month on that, and that also that the board can have a chance to sit down and have a look at what it all entails.
Okay, so what you're communicating is that you would like to table the Black Wall Street discussion. You're suggesting that we invite, I believe it was Ms. Gavin, to provide a presentation.
Yes.
President Robinson, point of order. We have a motion on the floor and then we do have time for discussion. So at this time, we have a motion on the floor and then you ask the question, do we have any discussion?
Correct. I just want to ensure that I'm understanding what he's communicating to me, Ms. Secretary Triplett. I wasn't trying to have a discussion regarding the topic. So you can proceed with your motion, Vice President Bradley.
Yes. But that's it.
Okay, can you
it's already
the
a motion on, no, President Robinson, point of order.
Go ahead, Trustee Creighton.
I thought that you asked for a motion to approve the agenda. So how can he make another motion while your motion is open?
So I called for a motion to, yes, ma'am. I called for a motion to approve the agenda and no one made one. So what he actually placed on the floor was a motion to alter the agenda.
So you're saying you asked for a motion, and so you were waiting for. So when you called on him, it was my assumption that you was giving him the floor so that he can make that motion. So are you saying I have an opportunity to make that motion since that's what you were asking? I didn't want to cut him off. I thought that that's the motion that he was making. So how does that work?
So what I called for, I asked I allowed for us to look at the agenda. I asked for a motion to approve the agenda. No one made the motion, and then Vice President Bradley indicated that he wanted to make a motion to adjust the agenda.
Vice President Bradley said President Robinson, which from the board perspective, it seemed like he was going to make a motion to approve the agenda. So if that's not what you called on him for that, so since you're still looking for someone to make that motion, I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
You can proceed with that motion, and then we can have the discussion.
Perfect. I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, is there a support?
I support.
Okay, now are there any questions, comments, or concerns regarding approval of the agenda?
I do have a comment, question, and a concern.
Okay. Proceed, Treasurer Creighton.
Thank you so much. My question and comment, if you can move down on the agenda a little bit, please. It is I think it's under board business. It was about the work sessions. You see, ending work sessions.
Proceed, Treasurer Creighton.
Thank you. And so my question, comment, and concern, last week, Trustee Bowens verbally asked to put this on the agenda while it was a discussion item. And I'm now asking for it to be removed from the agenda because I'm not sure what protocols, procedures, or decisions are being used to add resolutions and staff reports to the agenda or taking them off of the agenda. So using the Robert's Rules of Orders, I'm just kind of wondering how does that work?
So you're asking you're discussing the agenda as it stands, or are you asking that we make an adjustment to the agenda? You're just having conversation.
No, I'm asking the agenda as it stands. How was that added to the agenda verbally? And I verbally asked for it not to be added to the agenda. So I'm just wondering how decisions are being made to do that. Not only that, just in general, what is the protocol, process, and procedure for doing that with resolutions, with staff reports, with, discussion items? What is the process for that?
So the policy actually indicates that the board, together with the superintendent, makes the agenda. So in last week's, actually it's the superintendent and the president with concurrence of the president, and that any of the board members can request that an item be added to the agenda. So in the meeting last week, Vice President Bradley actually requested that this be added to the agenda.
Right. So are you saying that because Vice President Bradley asked that he has more authority than myself and Mr. Tripler, who asked for it not to be on there? Like, what are you saying?
So in the conversation that was had last week, it was a discussion about work sessions, and you and Secretary specifically stated that you believe that we still need to have work sessions, is what, if I'm not mistaken, is what that conversation was. And other individuals provided insight as to why they would feel that we're able to remove the work sessions or go to one meeting. But he specifically stated multiple times that, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to discuss that anymore. I'm asking, what is the process, protocol, and procedures to add those things to the agenda or remove them? Because one, like you confirmed today, board member asked for it to be added, and myself, Angel Creighton, asked for it not to be added. So I'm just wondering, what process are we using to add or remove items from the agenda according to policy, procedures, bylaws? Because if these things are being verbally asked by one person and they're being added or removed, I'm just wondering where does that fit into what we're doing here as a board in a democracy?
So no, I'm gonna respond to her question in the conversation. So our policy on agendas 0166, it says I'm going to read it. It says the superintendent shall prepare and submit to each Board of Education member a written agenda prior to each regular meeting and each special meeting unless otherwise directed by the board. The agenda shall list the various matters to come before the board and shall serve as a guide for the order of procedure for the meeting. Individual board members may include items on the agenda upon the concurrence of the board president. So Trustee Bowens requested that this item be placed on the agenda and the board president concurred. So if you in that, and I believe that was your question that you were asking, how did it get on the agenda? And it was because it was requested to be placed on the agenda, and I concurred.
So are you saying, so when you say you concurred, are you saying that because you agree with it, that he can then add it to the agenda? Is that what you're saying?
He requested in the meeting to add it to the agenda. I drafted the agenda as he requested. At this particular time, we're going over, allow me to finish, Treasurer Craig.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you stopped. I'm sorry.
At this particular time, and so the agenda was presented to the board in advance. At this particular time, we're planning to approve the agenda. So if there were, just as before we started this conversation, Vice President Bradley was attempting to amend the agenda to remove an item. If you wanted to amend the agenda to remove an item, you would be willing to try to make that amendment or that adjustment to the agenda currently now, if that's something that you wanted to do. But based on the policy, it reads that individual board members may include items on the agenda upon the concurrence of the board president.
Correct. So I'm asking because during that same meeting that he requested for it to be on the agenda, I requested for it not to be on the agenda. So I'm just trying to not be confrontational or combative. I'm just trying to get an understanding of how it was added and not removed, because both of us individual board members one asked for it to be added and one asked for it not to be added. And so I'm just wondering so that I'll know, in the future how that's done.
So Ms. Creighton, I would have to be fair to both of you all. I couldn't choose not to add it because you suggested that you didn't want to if Trustee Bowen said that he wanted to. So right now, as it relates to the democracy of our board, we are currently voting on the approval of the agenda. And so things that we determined that we're going to discuss at our board meetings will be based on the vote of the board. So
but it's already on the agenda and I requested for it not to be on there. So how are you being fair to both of us? This is a win-lose because it's on there.
But the agenda as it stands has not been approved, Treasurer Creighton. That's what I'm communicating to you.
And so then I guess my other question is, are we suspending bylaws? Because according to our bylaws, this is something that we've already adopted. So I'm just wondering, I mean, it just seems to be kind of, it's starting to kind of feel like it's been some side conversations or what is going on, because I mean, and then you also read that, that people can ask for things to be added. And I know that Black Wall Street requested in writing for it to be added. And just last week, they were not on the agenda. And so I'm not trying to take away President Bradley's, I'm not trying to take away President Bradley's motion, but I'm just asking because they've already wrote in also as a resolution, and they were not given an opportunity to do that last week during our work session. So now
so Treasurer Creighton, what I would like right now, we're talking about the.
Correct.
Okay, so what I would like to do is have one discussion topic at a time. So
this is my discussion. I'm asking, how are things being added and removed depending on who the people are? Not a motion, because
I'll clarify again. Right? A board member can request that an item be added to the agenda. I added the agenda because it was requested. There were individuals that discussed where they stood on the particular matter, and for that reason, I added it to the agenda because it was requested. So at this particular time, we have yet to approve the agenda. You are now right at this particular time questioning. We have a preset agenda that we send out to everyone. It's sent to the board. Prior to the meeting, we vote on the adoption of the agenda. If there is something that any person wants to add to the agenda or remove to the agenda, we do that at the place that we are at now, so that it is a board, vote to add that particular item at this particular time, which is what we're attempting to do. So I'm not sure, because the discussion has kind of been opened up. If you are in this discussion you're talking about the agenda, and so I'm clarifying for you. The Black Wall Street discussion was added to the agenda.
So I'm
because
sorry. I wasn't trying to discuss Black Wall Street. I'm just simply saying that, you know, these are people and individual board members and community members that are asking for things to be added and removed. So with one board member asking for something to be added, and as a point of order last week, I did ask for it not to be added. So I'm just wondering how you came to the resolve to add it because one board member asked. That's my only question that's on the floor. And I'm trying to look under Robert's Rules of Order, you know, as a point of privilege to make sure that no one is getting more privilege than another, because I'm trying to get an understanding.
I can assure you that I'm not providing privilege to any particular person. We just had this discussion during the work session last week, and Trustee Barnes requested that it be added to the agenda. I added it to the agenda and I sent the agenda out in advance. At this particular time, we have not approved the agenda. So I am not operating any more power than any other person on the board or giving privilege to any other particular person, because we can have the agenda as it stands in draft form, but any board member has an opportunity to make amendments or have discussion about the agenda before we actually approve it and proceed with our meeting. And so as it relates to the Black Wall Street zone discussion, the community came and spoke to us about that particular item, and it was added to the agenda. Vice President Bradley was attempting to communicate some thoughts that he had about that particular discussion.
But we're not even there yet. That's
correct. So what I'm saying is we're at the point where we are at the approval of the agenda. If there's any particular board member that wants to edit or alter or adjust or has concerns about the agenda as it stands, this is the time for us to have that discussion. And then the full board will proceed with the discussion on what the agenda will look like, and then we will approve it and move forward. So that's, I'm not giving any particular person any more privilege than the next person. So I'm not sure if anyone else wants to. Trustee Creighton opened a discussion on the particular agenda asking how it's approved or how it's added. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to add to the discussion.
Well, President Robinson, all due respect, I do feel like it was a consensus. I did repeat several times that I wanted this on the agenda for the next discussion meeting. And I think we did have a talk. The trustees were able to talk and they stated their feelings on that matter. And I do feel like it was a consensus, you know, and I stated that I do want this on the agenda, and that's what I asked, that it remain on the agenda.
President Robinson?
Trustee Treasurer Creighton.
Trustee Barnes is absolutely right. There was a discussion and we did all talk about it. However, there was not a motion made, and we have already adopted this in our bylaws. So I'm asking again, he asked for it to be added to the agenda. I asked for it not to be added. So two individuals, that's it. We did not take a vote. So to talk about a consensus, correct, without a motion and without a vote, so are we not following Robert's Rules of Order? I mean, I don't understand. In the Open Meetings Act, we take non-valid, what would be the word? So we're taking unofficial votes now. I mean, what's going on here?
So President Creighton, I'm sorry.
Let's move. Let's be efficient. Let's keep on
finish.
Moving on to the meeting.
So I'm gonna finish, Treasurer Creighton. So as you're aware, the discussion topic, the work session topic was on the agenda for work session last week. Trustee Barnes asked for this particular meeting that we actually take a vote on a topic that was already on the agenda. I just read the policy to you that clarifies how the agenda is determined for a particular meeting. So that process was followed. A board member made a suggestion for something to be added to the agenda. It was added per the concurrence of the president because there were individuals that discussed the topic. There were individuals that were for keeping them and individuals that were for not keeping them. What you're asking, I heard.
But I'm saying, you're saying individuals for keeping it.
Allow me to finish, because when you start
I'm
talking,
sorry, President Robinson, I thought you were asking me a question.
No, ma'am, I'm not finished. So what I'm communicating to you is, we voted, I believe what you stated is in January, we voted to go to 2 work sessions, but at any particular time, the board can vote to make an adjustment to its meeting schedule moving forward. This was something, we actually did the same thing last year. When I
President
got
Robinson,
to the
point of
board.
order. Point of
I'm
order.
clarifying
I'm not
your
asking
question,
for you.
Treasurer
No,
Creighton.
my question is not about what the discussion is. My question is about an agenda item. Right now, that agenda, I'm just asking in general, an agenda item. So I don't think it's fair to now discuss what that agenda item is. I'm just asking for an agenda item to be added or removed. I'm
So
sorry, that's all I'm asking.
what do you ask? So what are you asking me for the clarification, or right now you're saying you want an item to be removed? I want to understand what you're communicating.
So, I'm sorry, yes, I'm asking. So when a board member or community member would like for an item to be added to the agenda and or removed from the agenda, because this was a discussion and a vote was not, an official vote was not taken for it to be added or removed, I am asking, according to Robert's Rules of Order, because I am still learning, I'm asking not that anyone agree or disagree or any of that. So if that's how I'm coming across, I apologize. I'm
No,
simply
I understand that you're
asking.
asking for clarification.
Yes,
And
so
so
I'm asking
I just,
because I'm trying to learn Robert's Rules of Order. And according to this Robert's Rules of Order, it says that I have the right to register a complaint if I raise a question of privilege. And there's no interruption needed, there's no second, there's no debate, there's no vote needs to be taken. So I'm asking, am I able to do that at this time? Because I would like an investigation done on my complaint. That's all I'm asking.
so what
It
is
was added to the agenda
ahead.
and I asked for it not to be added. So I'm asking under Robert's Rules of Order, may I register a complaint because I have a question of privilege?
So
If
Treasurer
privilege
Creighton,
was given to one person over another, that's what I'm asking.
so Treasurer Creighton, what I'm communicating is that the item was added to the agenda per the request of one of our board members. And per our bylaws, if a board member requests that an item be added to the agenda, that can be allowed. The superintendent and the president present the agenda to the board. I sent you all this agenda last week and there was nothing that was sent to me questioning or providing any concern regarding the item being on the agenda. Right now, we are trying to get to the point where we are trying to approve the agenda. The agenda has not been approved as it stands. This has not been approved. So if you would like to counter this being, if you would like to remove this item from the agenda, you have the right and privilege to request that that be done, just as Vice President Bradley tried to make a motion to amend the agenda. You have every right and privilege to do that as any other individual on this board. We are at the point in this meeting where we've been discussing the agenda for quite some time and we haven't even got to a point of trying to approve it. So I am asking for a motion to approve. I'm not sure if there is no one that would like to approve the agenda as it stands. If there is no one that wants to approve the agenda as it stands, if there's no motion.
Well, it's already been seconded, President Robinson. I think you have to.
So who made the motion? Because we've had so
I
much.
I made the motion. I'm sorry. I made the motion. So are you,
okay.
I have a quick question. So are
Yes,
you saying
ma'am.
that I can't, are you saying, because I heard you say that I could email back, but I thought that I could not deliberate and go back and forth in email. So I'm just asking, I want to be clear, am I not able to rise that make them rise of a privilege according to Robert's Rules of Order? Are you saying that I can't do that? This is not the appropriate time. I want to be clear, but I did make the motion and it was seconded.
Okay, can you clarify for me who supported the motion? Secretary Triplett, do you have?
According to the motion to accept the agenda was given by Treasurer Creighton, and it was supported by Secretary Triplett. I have a question in regards to this.
Okay, so Treasurer Creighton, I just want to clarify, you made a motion to approve the agenda, but it sounds like you are not wanting to approve the agenda as it stands.
I'm not saying that. I didn't
Okay.
say which way my vote was going. I asked if I could register a complaint according to Robert's Rules of Order.
I don't have my guidebook in front of me, Treasurer Creighton, but you can send that information to me is what I was communicating to you. I would have to look that up to look at what you're referencing in your book, because I don't have mine handy right at this particular time. But what
Wow,
I assure you is that there was no privilege given. The agenda was developed and drafted based on what our bylaw states, and I went solely by that. And so no one has approved the agenda. I don't have the power to approve the agenda. The board does that by taking a vote, which is what we're attempting to do. Ms. Secretary Triplett, I believe you had additional conversation that you were attempting to add as well.
So I'm just not clear on the discussion. I just want to put this out here. Just because the discussion might not be going in one particular trustee's way, or it might be something, I don't think that it is appropriate for other trustees to tell people to move along. We are in the discussion. I'm quite sure people want to move through expeditiously, but I'm trying to find out exactly what it is that Treasurer Creighton is saying, requesting, and asking as it relates to the agenda and the agenda item, as it relates to us closing out voting to not have our work sessions. As it relates to our, well, that'll come back later if it remains on the agenda. So I just need some clarification. I'm not sure what Treasurer Creighton is asking.
Madam President.
Yes, Treasurer Creighton.
So I guess I'm not, although one thing that I am thinking about is on the agenda specifically, I am asking in general, because if we're going to be 100% transparent, a board member also asked for an item to be removed from the agenda. And now you keep referring to a motion being made for that. And so I'm just wondering, what are we doing here? Again, we do have bylaws. We do have Robert's Rules of Order that we follow. And we also use the Open Meetings Act. And we have policies. So I am just simply wondering, what is going on? We have several hot topics that's on the agenda, or might be a desire for someone to add to the agenda. But we do represent the people. And we did spend 5.5 hours last week in a work session. So I cannot imagine, you know, what I mean, we're all new. You even just said that we all are novice to this thing. And you just said that you don't have your Robert's Rules of Order with you. And I asked to make a motion not a motion, but a complaint of privilege. And so because we don't have that present, now it has to be postponed. So if that's the case, I'm just kind of wondering, I mean, how do I move forward as a board member knowing that I'm not being given privilege or not given privilege? I just want to be clear, because I'm not trying to do anything but what is right. I'm not trying to create chaos. I am trying to do what is right. And in doing what is right, I would like to get an understanding according to our policies, protocols, bylaws, and procedures. That's all I'm asking.
So Treasurer Creighton, and I will respond again. And I'm going to make it very brief. At the start, the agenda was created by the superintendent and presented to the president. I read the bylaw to you from our policies that indicated that an item can be placed on the agenda by request of a board member and concurrence of the president. That item was on the agenda for discussion last week. During that discussion, there were multiple board members that spoke in one direction or the other. I never spoke to which way I was leaning with the work session. Trustee Bowens indicated that he would like it added to the agenda for vote for this week. So when the agenda was requested this week, because Trustee Bowens requested in last week's meeting, I added it to the agenda. That was in no way attempting to take privilege from you or Trustee Secretary Triplett, who indicated that your vote or your preference would be that we keep the work sessions in place. It was requested to be added to the agenda by a board member, and it was. As it relates to the Black Wall Street topic, the community came and spoke to us about that particular item, and I added it to the agenda as your board president. So that reflected that I cared about what the community discussed. What we just attempted to do, all I simply attempted to do was call for an approval of the agenda. There was no one who made a motion to approve the agenda. The first person that spoke was Vice President Bradley, attempting to make an alter or make a suggestion on, I think, tabling
But you never
that item.
moved on. Point of order. You
Treasurer
never
Creighton,
moved on.
please, Treasurer Creighton, I don't think it's acceptable for you to continue to, I'm trying to clarify a question because you asked me what was going on and I'm explaining to you what was going on. So because you indicated that we were calling for a motion and you were confused and thought that was the motion being placed and that you wanted to add a motion for approval of the agenda.
I wanted to support it.
I accepted your motion, or I accepted the motion that you added to approve the agenda, and second, you all are indicating or recall Secretary confirmed that he supported it. So now we are in the discussion phase of approval of the agenda. You and I have had discussion back and forth on this particular topic in clarifying how an item is added to the agenda. Our policy does not say that there has to be a majority vote on the approval of the agenda for an item to just be drafted for this meeting. We approve that officially at this particular point where we are right now. So you can ask for an item to be added to the agenda. And if another person disagrees with that item being placed, they can ask that we remove it or have that discussion. And then the entire board is going to make that vote to decide what the agenda is going to look like. So we're trying to get to that point where we can allow the full body's vote to be the voice of what this agenda is like. And so I'm not exactly sure, you indicated that you feel that there's privilege that's taking place. And what I'm saying is there's no privilege. The item was placed. If you are wanting to have it removed or the topic not be voted on, you would simply indicate that you're making a motion to edit the agenda as it stands to remove that item, and we would place a vote to remove it before we proceed. There is no privilege given to any particular person because the full board, all 7 of us, have to vote to approve the agenda as it stands. But I cannot give Vice President Bradley the right to prevent something from being added to the agenda that you want to be added. And I can't give you the privilege to prevent something being added that Trustee Bowens wants to be added. But if we get to the agenda and the majority of the board indicates that they don't want that item on there, then we vote to remove it. Or edit it or adjust the agenda. And we're trying to get to that point. That's the democracy of our board. So at this time, we're in discussion because that's something that you asked for, and that's what's going on. And so I don't know if anyone else has any discussion that they would like to make, but we're simply trying to get to an approval of the agenda. We can vote to approve the agenda. If the approval of the agenda does not go through because there's individuals that there are certain items that they don't want on there, then the motion to approve the agenda will fail and we can request a new motion. Treasurer Creighton, if you want to withdraw your motion to approve the agenda as it stands and you want to make a suggestion or a motion that we remove the work sessions, you can withdraw your current motion. We can vote and let it fail. There was a support, so it doesn't fail. We can vote on it. We can proceed with the vote and see if it passes as it is. Or you can choose to withdraw your motion and we can proceed with seeing what additions or corrections need to be made to the agenda. But if we can, I would like for us to get past the agenda as it stands because we've been on this particular topic 30 minutes at this time. It's now 6:04. So I don't know if anyone else has any discussion to add to this particular topic regarding approval of the agenda.
President Robinson?
Yes, Secretary Triplett.
At this time, this is the appropriate time for Vice President Bradley too, if he has some concerns as it relates to the agenda.
To make his comments, correct.
To make his comments this is the appropriate time for him to be able to express what he feels about items on the agenda as well.
Correct.
Did my complaint get registered? I just want to make sure that my complaint is registered.
Yes, ma'am. I took your complaint down.
Thank you so much.
And what I communicated to you is that I would follow up with you regarding that. So that I can ensure that I can look into that policy with you, look into that policy as well.
Well, once there is a complaint, once there's a complaint on the floor, that means that that item cannot be voted on until the complaint has been dealt with, and then it can come back up again for consideration, according to Robert's Rules of Order.
So she filed a complaint. So do we vote to discuss the complaint?
The complaint, there is no vote. When a complaint is filed, there's no vote, there's no discussion.
I'm sorry, Madam President, that was directed at you, Secretary
didn't
Triplett. I
clarify.
apologize.
That's okay.
Okay, so Vice
Do we have,
Treasurer
this is,
Creighton.
sorry, this is why we need a school district attorney on the meetings, because we spent 30 minutes going back and forth after we voted on this. One thing I will say is it's a lot of stuff at the work sessions that we do not vote on that are on the agenda. So I'm not sure on this whole bunch of malarkey stuff that's going back and
Trustee
forth,
Bowens.
but enough is enough.
Trustee Bowens.
I apologize.
Okay. So Treasurer Creighton, your complaint is that you feel that there was privilege given to the work session being added to the agenda.
No, my complaint is that I feel that privilege was given to one board member over another about an agenda item. Because, you know, we still have 4 years. And so I don't want every time I agree or don't agree with something that it becomes a, you know, big thing. I would just like to know in advance what the process is, just like with the work session. I mean, we've never, you know, since he brought that up, we've never really created a layout or protocol for what that would look like, because, you know, with our onboarding and our operational meeting, you know, those things we've just kind of not had time. Every, you know, month, different items are coming up and we're dealing with them accordingly. And so we've not, you know, had time to really do our work as a board. And so, you know, he's right. I don't really know what the protocol is for a work session or a official board meeting, because, you know, we've really not had that time. And so, you know, we do have people that are asking to be on the agenda. We do have topics. So in general, I would just like to know what that process and protocol is. Again, I apologize for anything else. I'm not here to do anything else but do what is right for the people and the citizens of this community, and that's it. So I would just like to know. I mean, we have people on the call, you know, people are listening, we're live. I think everyone would like to know if they want to be on the agenda or they want something to be discussed on the agenda. This is the process, protocol, and procedure. I don't think that's too much to ask. And that's all I'm asking. Not because it's something I agree or disagree with, just in general.
So my answer to your question is how, as I read it on our policy 0166, the superintendent shall prepare and submit to each Board of Education member a written agenda. In each special meeting, unless otherwise directed by the board, the agenda shall list the various matters to come before the board and shall serve as a guide for the order or procedure of the meeting. Individual board members may include items on the agenda upon the concurrence of the board president. So if a community member has a particular item that they would like added to the agenda, based on this particular policy that the superintendent prepares them, the district would be their first stop in getting an item added to the agenda for discussion before the board. The superintendent then shall prepare that agenda and provide it to the Board of Education. The board shall also be able to add an item to the agenda. It says individual board members may include items on the agenda upon the concurrence of the board president. There is nothing on this policy that says an individual board member shall have the consent of all board members in order to be able to add an item to the agenda. Our bylaw 0166 does not state that. So I understand that you're indicating that you believe that there was privilege given to the individual board member, but as I'm reading it to you, individual board members may include items on the agenda upon the concurrence of the board president. So because there was discussion and there were more than one board member that seemed to state that this was something that they wanted to discuss further or wanted to talk about further, I put it on the agenda, and Trustee Bowens asked that we take a vote. So I respected the board as it stood and those who verbalized where they stood on the meeting in putting that particular item on the agenda. The Black Wall Street Zone, because the community came to us to discuss that topic and wanted the board to be heard, I put it on the agenda this week for us to have a discussion about that particular topic.
See, last week, even since you brought that up, Madam President, may I comment on that?
Which particular, I'm not sure, go
About-
ahead.
Okay, the Black Wall Street. I think we received an email before the meeting last week saying that they wanted to be on the agenda, but they weren't on the agenda. And they did go through the superintendent. So do you get what I'm saying? I'm saying that
So
it's not
the
only
email
for
that was
something-
received, just for clarification, the email that was received,
Mhm.
it didn't have anything asking to be added to the agenda. And I can pull it up, I can try to pull it up, but it was asked that it be shared with us. There was no request to be added to the agenda.
Oh,
So-
and see, last week, Madam President, may I respond to that?
I'm gonna look up the email. It says, please advise the board and executive team of the message below for consideration, both personally and officially. There's nothing in this email that says, may we be added to the agenda? This is an email that looks as if it may have been shared with other community members for support and information. So the board was notified Sunday evening that the community was coming to speak to us about this particular topic, and we were prepared to listen to that particular topic. There was no request that was received asking to be placed on the board or this to be a topic for discussion. This is communicating that community members were coming to talk about this particular item to the board. And so that's what they did. So because the community took their time to come talk to us in public comment about this item, I then put it on the agenda for this week for discussion.
So President Robinson, let me know when I can respond.
You can respond, Treasurer
Okay.
Craig.
Okay, because I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm trying to get an understanding. And so we're saying that, but the work session wasn't on the agenda last week either. And that's what, so I guess we're going kind of back and forth in circles.
The work session was a discussion item
It
on
was,
the 413
but it wasn't
agenda.
a staff report to be voted on, correct?
It was a discussion.
But now it is. Right.
Correct, because it
And
was
so then
requested.
last week, and so when they say official or non-official, do you get what I'm saying? Okay, so they're saying officially and unofficially. So what would officially be at the board meeting, or what would that mean? And so I'm not trying to go back and forth. I would just like to make my complaint, so that we'll know what's going on, and I'll know, and the community will know how is it that items are added or removed from the agenda and discussed, whether it's for a discussion or for a vote. I think it would have been more than fair to add Black Wall Street if a student and people were asking last week to do a presentation and have some time, and that was not granted. So,
Treasurer-
I'm not here to do anything else but what is right. And so I would just like to do my complaint. And as Mr. Trustee Triplett pointed out, according to this Robert's Rules of Order, once that complaint is made, that the item is tabled until and cannot be voted on until a response is made to that.
And your complaint is about which particular item, Treasurer Craig?
My complaint is about adding and removing items to the agenda and privilege being given.
So let me clarify for you, Treasurer Creighton. Are you not wanting to proceed with the vote with the agenda as it stands?
Correct.
So then I will clarify for you, how do we proceed with our meeting?
That's a good
Are
question.
you wanting to, are you suggesting that we alter the agenda?
No,
Treasurer Creighton?
do I have an opportunity to respond right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what I'm asking again, I would like to make it a complaint about the item that was added to the agenda, and Trustee Bowens asked for it to be added, and trustee Creighton asked for it not to be added in the same meeting
Okay, so
discussion.
my apologies because I'm getting confused because two things are being discussed. So you're essentially asking that we not be able to vote on the work session because you have a complaint about that particular item. Am I now understanding what you're communicating?
Correct, Madam President.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So what I am suggesting is that we table the work session discussion to our next meeting, given the complaint that was made that there is privilege being granted to one board member over the other. Although I have clarified that the policy indicates that a board member can request that an item be added, I will give respect to Treasurer Creighton's concern. So I am asking, would you like to proceed? Would you like to withdraw your motion to approve the agenda as it stands, Treasurer Creighton, or either we can make a vote on the approve. You can withdraw your motion to approve the agenda, Treasurer Creighton, and we can proceed with additional motions. But I would like to hear Vice President Bradley's comment.
Okay,
that he
so
wanted
President
to add,
Robinson,
because go ahead.
right, so are you asking me to, so when I'm saying, so I want to be clear now. So you're saying that you're tabling the item about the work session, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Also, I would like to move forward with my motion to approve the agenda with the item of work session being tabled.
Okay.
Is that
Treasurer,
correct, or how? Yeah.
you're essentially requesting that an edit be made to the agenda.
Point of order,
Well,
we are still in discussion. So after Vice President Bradley does have his point in the discussion, then we would go on, because Robert Rules of Order says that we cannot vote on the item as it relates to the work session once a complaint has been altered. I mean, has been presented. So now we can go on to the next in order for us to be fair and transparent in all areas. And so at this time, I think that it is protocol while we're in discussion for Vice President Bradley to discuss what it is that he feels.
Vice President Bradley, would you like to share?
Yes, and my whole motion was that we just table it so that we can get a formal presentation to see what it is, and also check on the resolution at our next meeting. We've had the community discussion, but we would like to have some time to see what we want to discuss. It's not that anyone is against it or anything. We just want more time to think about it and get a formal presentation.
Okay, is there any other input regarding regarding this discussion? Trustee Bowman.
Sorry, I'm actually confused. So there's two motions on the floor right now.
No, right now we're still on the approval of the agenda, but I allow Vice President Bradley to add comment because he initially had some input. He wanted to make an edit to the agenda, but I allow him to make comment on this discussion topic because he had discussion for the agenda as it stood.
Okay, I would also file a complaint due to my request that something was asked to be removed off the agenda, and it was not removed due to further legal recourse. So I'm also filing a complaint on the discussion topic of Black Wall Street, or the Black Wall Street zone.
Point of order, that's not something that, well, I don't know. This your meeting.
So President Robinson, just for clarification, first of all, these are not motions or anything that we vote on. There are two complaints on the floor as to how something got on the agenda. I'm not really sure what if the complaint for the work session was that there were two trustees. One trustee wanted it on the agenda. One trustee did not want it on. So the point of privilege is being questioned, and the complaint goes with the point of privilege. To say how was one accepted and the other didn't. So that's what that complaint is. With the Black Wall Street, I don't see a complaint. I'm not sure. I'm not clear on where the complaint comes into play, because there was one person that requested that it be on there, but there was nobody else that requested that it not be on there, and so I don't see the conflict.
President Robinson, as a school board trustee, I do have the same authority and power, and I did send a request that I sent it all, pending freedom from my lawyer, that we do not discuss this, because at this moment, I do not want anything to be held liable for my protection and the board's protection. And I also ask that we have the school district attorney. That's why I am filing a complaint, so this cannot be discussed or voted on or until we have legal hearing from the school district's attorney to hold us from any liabilities, and also that I have my lawyer look at this. So I am able to utilize my freedom of speech and have no litigation filed against me for using my freedom of speech. That's why I'm asking this, and that's that case. That's why that complaint stands. The complaint stands so that we can end the discussion. Complaint stands that we do not discuss this, so I will not be held liable, or we will not be held liable from any litigation from this member. I've also sent a statement to all the board members requesting that. I also call for us to end the debate and let's vote on it. The agenda.
President Robinson, can you show us where that is on Robert's Rules of Order to make a complaint against a community member that petitioned the president and the superintendent to add an item to the agenda?
Treasurer Creighton, I think Trustee Bowens is filing a complaint against me for proceeding with the agenda as it stands currently.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, and I don't think I'm I don't believe I'm misquoting you, Trustee Bowens. I just want to ensure. So I want to add to this conversation.
No, well, for disclosure, sorry, because I'm not filing a complaint on you. I'm filing a complaint on the agenda. Can we just vote on the darn agenda? The people voted us not to spend over 40 minutes discussing agenda, not to spend all of this. I can't even understand what we're arguing about or fighting about. We're fighting because we spent 5 freaking hours at a meeting and we keep on going back and forth. This is a bunch of malarkey.
Point
The
of
people
order.
voted us to
Point of
put the children
order.
first.
Point of
I'm
order.
talking, you talk. This has been going on for the past 5 meetings.
Mr. Can you please mute the mics for a second for me, please? I am going to remind my Board of Education that we are currently in a public meeting and we are simply at the point of trying to get our agenda approved. I understand that there are members that are unhappy with the agenda as it stands. And so our policies and bylaws give us an opportunity to make amendments to our agenda so that we can vote as a board and proceed with the agenda in a manner that is just and fair to the full board. And so at this particular time, I have received two complaints, one from Treasurer Creighton for privilege given to me putting an item for vote on the agenda per a trustee's request, which the bylaws state I can do, but I respect your complaint. There's also a complaint received from Trustee Bowens because he sent a request to remove an item from the agenda, and I left it on the agenda per the statements that he's made per his concerns. So at this particular time, we have 2 different items that are being requested or complaints are being filed against on the agenda, indicating that we cannot proceed with those items on the agenda. Currently, we have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda as it stands, but there are 2 items on the agenda per the complaints received that there appears we cannot proceed with on the agenda. My suggestion, because I am able to give comment as well, is that we table the ending work sessions discussion and we table the Black Wall Street Zone discussion. Vice President Bradley was attempting to communicate that he wanted to allow Ms. Gavin to give a presentation to the board. Ms. Gavin previously did not ask to give a presentation to the board. I think that that would be a worthwhile presentation to listen to as well. So information was sent to the board to let us know that they were coming. But to my understanding, the superintendent did not receive a request, and maybe I'm confused, to add, to give a presentation. And that's something that I think is worthwhile listening to. So I'm asking that potentially the board proceed with the agenda with the 2 table items, and we vote to approve the agenda with the ending work session conversation and the Black Wall Street Zone discussion tabled. If that's something that we do, it would give Ms. Gavin the opportunity to make a full presentation to the board at our next month's meeting. And then the board would be able to have that discussion at that time as well.
Madam President, I would like to put a motion on the floor that we approve the agenda.
The motion was already put on the floor, Secretary Triplett.
I think that we have to in order for us to go forward, to move forward and approve the agenda with the 2 table items, I think you have to have another.
Okay, so Treasurer Creighton, so there was a support to Treasurer Creighton's motion. We would either need to officially vote against her original motion, or she can choose to withdraw her motion.
I'm not sure what you're saying. So what is necessary right now in the point that we're in, you've made 2 revisions to the agenda, what would be the appropriate motion? And are we in a motion to vote on it, or do I have to withdraw?
Because you have made the initial motion to approve the agenda, you can make it to approve the agenda with the 2 table items. You can amend your motion.
Okay, President Robinson, I would like to make a motion.
You can proceed.
I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda with the 2 table items and the file complaints.
Okay, is there a second or support?
Support.
Okay, I am assuming there's no further discussion regarding this topic, but I will ask before taking the official vote. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll for the vote for the agenda with the amendments, with the work session table and the Black Wall Street Zone discussion table?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Bowens,
Yes.
Trustee Buchanan, Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, now it appears someone has made me a host, which I prefer not to do. Mr. Corson, can you remove that for me, please? Thank you, because there's members coming in and I won't be able to admit them without, having host privileges and running the meeting as well. The next item for discussion on the agenda is approval of the minutes. We are approving minutes for closed session 2/27/21, work session 3/2/21, closed session 3/2/21, regular session 3/9/21, closed session 3/9/21, and closed session 3/22/21. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as read?
So moved.
Is there a support?
I support.
Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yeah.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Bowens,
Yes.
Trustee Buchanan, Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
First item of business under board business was the strategic planning proposal discussion. So last week we had presentations from Hazard, Young, Atia and Associates and the Michigan Association of School Boards. We had a brief window for the trustees to be able to ask questions to those representatives. But I wanted to see if there was any particular further discussion on the topic since we've heard both of those actual presentations back to back. Did anyone have any input at this particular time on those presentations that were provided?
President Robinson.
You can proceed, Treasurer Creighton.
I think we skipped over the public comment section on agenda items.
Oh, you are correct. Thank you so much. So I'll back up a bit. Thank you so much. We are at public comment. Thank you for that, Treasurer Creighton, because I was trying to get us pushed on through this meeting. One quick second. Okay, public comment. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 3 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak. Public comment on agenda items only, public comment on extended learning plan, and open public comment. Per policy 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments by an announcement of your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once during this meeting. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to liz.goodwin@bentonharborareaschools.org. Is there anyone for public comment on agenda items?
Hello.
Ms. Bell?
Okay, I didn't know if you guys were calling on us or how that was going to work. I kind of want to speak really quickly on the strategic planning.
You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm going to be quick because this seems to be a very confusing meeting. It's very confusing for me. We came in on last week and we were talking basically about the strategic plan that the city of Benton Harbor is going to be doing. And very quickly, actually, and how we were trying to get protections for Benton Harbor area schools when you guys work on your strategic plan. So I'm a little bit confused of everything that's happening right now. I'm actually really ashamed to even be a part of this, to have to sit in on this meeting because the stall tactics are splendid tonight. I'm so confused. Like, I really need someone to explain to me how a student, Lazarus, actually called the superintendent, asked to be on the agenda, was approved to be on the agenda, and then was told 30 minutes before a meeting by a secretary that we weren't on the agenda. And now, for actual people who we have voted in to represent us, to play games, and try to remove an item from Black Wall Street Zone, which I understand we can't talk about because it's tabled now. It's just beyond me. It's really simple. The board just needs to review the resolution that was sent to them 2 weeks ago via the secretary of the superintendent.
Ms. Bell, I'm sorry. Are you speaking, which particular item are you speaking in reference to?
I'm speaking on strategic planning. This fits into strategic planning. So my question is, why is the board member not allowed to simply say we want to put a motion on the floor to vote because we have the information, we've been given the information, and then proceed? But since you're talking back to me, that is a part of your.
No, I just wanted to ensure I understood which particular item you were speaking on. You can proceed with your comment.
Plan. Your strategic plan. You guys have had an opportunity, and it's in your bylaws that a member can basically say, hey, I want to put this item on the floor to be voted on. We have had the information. We understand that these are what they are trying to put in to protect us for our strategic plan. So let's help make sure that we're in right when the city is ready to make their strategic plan, and they are actively seeking participants now, companies to come in and help participate, orchestrate that. So the school kind of needs to be on board. So my question is, why are you guys playing these games? Why aren't you just upfront and telling us what it is you like, what it is you don't like, what it is you understand? We specifically asked to be on the agenda 2 times to make a presentation. Now you're pushing us into next month. So if we can't help with the strategic planning of the city, do you not want the community's input? Do we not matter? I'm simply confused, and I'm just seeking clarity on that matter. Thank you.
Is there
I yield
anyone
my
else?
time.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Is there anyone up for public comment on the agenda items only?
Yes, my name is Sharon James, and I would just like to say that, your agenda is structured in both of your meetings to guide you through seamlessly. And had last week your work session to suspend or to keep, had it been on the actual agenda and not just verbally brought up arbitrarily by a board member, I think you guys could have avoided this. So just as a community member, holding fast and true to your agenda is really key because it helps remediate all of this type of confusion that's been displayed publicly. So I would just ask, just as a community person, that if you have a board member who wants to talk about something in work session, if they didn't get that in on the work session agenda, they should not have been able to have that added to the regular session. That's what caused all of your problems, plain and simple. And I hope not to see this type of display again because it was totally unnecessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. James. Anyone else for public comment on agenda items? Mr. Haywood.
One of the greatest things that we can have is transparency. We have been moving forward with the demise of our school, even when we came with a petition where they tried to close down the schools. And when you talk about the strategic planning, the group that you brought in, from my perspective and doing my homework on that group, that strategic planning group that you brought in, that strategic plan is to continue with the same things that were being put forth to dismantle the school. You can not possibly bring in somebody that do not understand this culture, do not understand this community, do not understand how we got in the situation that we are in, and try to bring them in to come up with a solution when they don't even understand the problem. That's where the biggest issue's been coming from. We have people that sit in positions that have tried to circumvent helping the community to push forth agendas that are not in the best interest of the community. And so this is something that really has to stop. When we entrusted individuals to be on the board, we entrusted them because we thought that they would have the best interests of the community at heart. And if you want to go down to one workshop or just one meeting a month, that's no transparency to the community. That means that there's something going on that is being done that is not in the best interest of the community. And from what I heard in the last meeting that we had, if I'm not mistaken, they were saying that they was trying to follow the strategic plan that was left by Herrera. We know Herrera's agenda, and all of those that came in with Herrera were here to dismantle the district and turn it into charter schools, okay? And we've been sitting here a year with a new superintendent, not taking nothing from him. But that should have been the first thing that you think he would come in with a strategic plan in order to even move the district forward or to sit in the seat. So in my opinion, I believe that there's individuals other than the superintendent that is making decisions, okay? He may be the face of the district right now. He is the face of the district, but I truly believe with these things that are on the agenda and the people that are putting on the agenda for certain positions to bring in with a strategic plan, I don't think it would be in the best interest of our district. If we can't find nobody that's culturally motivated, and I know there's a lot of organizations that do this work. We had an organization out of Detroit that came and wanted to institute a strategic plan, and they were brothers and sisters with a proven track record, but they were denied with the last board that was there. So hopefully you all can look back at them and reflect back on where we come from in order that we can see what we're trying to go to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haywood. Ms. Noel? I believe it's Ms. Triplett, my apologies.
I like that too. Good evening. How do community members file complaints against school board members? Because at this point, we're actually supposed to be voting on the Black Wall Street resolution, because they were at last week's meeting. We do know what they asked for. So at this point, and I feel like it's just based off of personal vendettas. And at this point, it's no reason for us to continue like this. I'm not gonna keep playing with y'all. We're not gonna keep letting our kids suffer all because of personal vendettas. I'm sorry. That's not how it's gonna go. So my basic question is, how do I file a complaint? Do I just say I'd like to file a complaint against trustee member Bowens? Is that
Ms. Triplett, I can follow up with you regarding your complaint. If you could send your email address to Ms. West.
Yes, ma'am. I'll do that.
Where she can send you her email address. Or actually, I'm sorry, if you could send that information to Ms. Goodwin. She's not operating the meeting, but if you could send that information to Ms. Goodwin, your concern, and then she can have that forwarded to me.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ross.
Hi, everyone. I want to talk about how we need to vote yes, because after all that we have suffered for the last couple of weeks talking about this, and it's just getting really tired.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Ross. Is this on an agenda item currently that you're discussing?
The strategic plan, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So yeah, it's just getting really tired of talking about it. We just need to vote yes, because after all that we have suffered for Ben Harbor, we need to keep this open. And I really want to vote yes tonight, because after all that we have done for Ben Harbor, we should just, keep it intact and keep it the way that we want it. So we're just trying to build it up exactly how we've planned it. And we have brought a lot of people into this, and we have got a lot of people to say yes for this and help us. We just need the board to say yes. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. So I just want to provide clarification to individuals as we proceed. The strategic planning proposal discussion is regarding the two presentations that were made last week by Hazard Young, Atea and Associates, and the Michigan Association of School Boards. The Black Wall Street Zone discussion has been tabled. So I do receive, I think individuals are indicating they're ready for us to take a vote on that. But I just want to clarify that particular topic is not an actual agenda item. But if you all have input on who you think the board should vote on out of those two individual companies that presented last week in your comment, I'd like to also hear that as well. It appears we have two additional hands, so I'll go with, I believe that's Ms. Swanigan, if I'm correct, under Sharp Foundation, and then Ms. Gavin's hand is raised as well.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. Hi, everybody. Before I start speaking, will it be time to speak at the end of for public comments for general things?
So there's three different opportunities for public comment. There's an opportunity at the start of the meeting on agenda items. There's an opportunity at the extended learning plan, and then there's an opportunity for public comment. So each member of the community gets one opportunity to speak. So you can, if you have an agenda item and you are discussing that now, you can do that, or you can speak at the end of the meeting.
Okay, I'll leave mine for the end of the meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Ms. Gavin, did you have a comment for an item on the agenda? I believe your hand has been raised for a while, so my apologies.
Yes, actually my hand was raised first. What I've seen is just an amazing stalling tactic, and it is very saddening. And I've also heard some things that are untrue. So Lazarus asked the superintendent, Lazarus was prepared to do a presentation, and then he didn't see his name on the agenda. That's what's happened. This information has been out for over a month. I've reached out to you, President, to share what this means, and you told me you'll talk to me if you have questions, and that didn't happen. We've been reaching out to board members to make sure that we can address any issues, and the item was on there. And when you're talking about a strategic plan and you're planning things for this community, I felt like Rosa Parks, but not Rosa Parks. I felt like the Black folks on the back of the bus last week. You had all of these European Americans who have no clue about our community, and you gave them a seat on the top of your agenda, and were dishonest about the demographics that they have served, while you had an entire community here wanting to be heard and had to wait 4 hours. And then again, here we are being pushed to the side. And that is sad, because we voted for people to represent us. And that is the experience of Black folks, constantly being brushed aside, told no, told not now. And it hurts the most when we see it happen from the people that we admire, the people we grew up with, to allow others to come and say they know how to reach out to us when we're right here waiting. And we had a child, a young person on a testing night, cared enough about this wait 4 hours to be heard. And so we've presented, the information in writing, and we just need the board to vote yes, and to read the information that we provided, ample information with links and facts, that this is a very urgent matter, and that we needed to get vote yes before the new city map is planned, because the city map that's available right now, the emergency manager has taken your protections as a school and has laid it out for the developers to come in and take. And Cornerstone Alliance has already put in there that they want you to get rid of over half our land, but you're not willing to listen to us. So I would like you to just think about how that feels. But we put a deadline on here. And so our deadline is for the 20th, which means that we have to move forward if you won't. And I implore anybody who wants to speak about this issue to do what you have to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gavin. Ms. Adams?
Thank you. Commissioner Mary Alice Adams, City of Benton Harbor. And I in no way come to tell any board members how to do their job. But as a taxpayer, I'm not sure what was actually on the agenda, but I was listening. And as it relates to the presentations we heard last week, is that up for a vote? Is that what we're commenting on as well?
So I'll clarify
that
that for you. So we're not actually taking a vote on the strategic planning. Because we heard them independently and asked them questions independently one at a time, we were just having a discussion on our thoughts on those two entities combined.
Okay, I won't keep you all long, but I would just ask every board member, as I do with the city, we have got to come together and work together to make sure that things are working harmoniously for the community at large. The taxpayers, their children, and just keeping them in mind, the ones that have brought this city thus far. And we want to keep as many children as possible in our district. listen to the voices of the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? I don't see any other hands.
Hello?
Okay, so I'm sorry.
Hello?
Who's speaking?
Thomas Green.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Green. You have a comment on an agenda item?
Yes, my comment is the lack of respect for the agenda. I want to speak for every married woman on that board that works in that hostile environment where you just got yelled at like you're 3 years old. It took everything in me not to jump off that mute. That disrespectful level for Black women is not going to be tolerated on my watch. A childish man has no reason to be on the school board. School board means protecting children, not being a child. I apologize to y'all for him because he knows now better that what he's seeing is royalty when he look at y'all and yell at y'all like he got some problem. He needs a timeout. I yield my time.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Anyone else for comment on agenda items? Hearing none, we'll proceed with board business. Ms. Creighton, thank you for reminding me that I skipped that section of the agenda. We'll proceed with board business. So we are trying to discuss the strategic planning proposals that were provided by Hazard Young, Atia and Associates and the Michigan Association of School Boards. Is there any discussion regarding this topic?
Yes, President Robinson. This is Secretary Triplett.
You have the floor.
At this time, as it relates to strategic planning proposals that were presented last week during our work session, I wasn't aware that we were getting ready, that we had received, that we were getting ready to work on that. I did see it on the agenda that there were some recommendations, if you will, for strategic planning bids. Let me turn my camera on so I can be seen. Can y'all see me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I just want to say to the community that strategic planning cannot happen without the community. I did get an opportunity to look at some of the presentations last week. And I do want to ask, are these the only companies that will be presenting for our strategic planning? Our strategic planning would not start tomorrow. It's an ongoing process. We're just looking at companies that would like to be identified to assist with us putting a strategic plan together for the district, conjunction with our superintendent and the Board of Education and the entire community. If you listened to some of the presentations last week, all of the presentations specifically said that these strategic plans cannot go into place without input. I too have some concerns, and the questions were posed last week as it relates to what type of planning they have done, what districts have they helped do strategic planning that looked like ours, that had the same demographic as ours. What type of, I did not see any African Americans at the forefront when they were presenting this plan, because people want to make our situation unique. Well, that's a whole different conversation on another day. But however, are these going to be the only two that can present proposals? When were these proposals put out? And if there is room for others to put proposals in that they would like to submit something to the school board as it relates to being considered for assisting us in our strategic planning. So I do want to say to the community that these whomever is selected, you know, it cannot happen. I am very familiar with what it requires for strategic planning. It cannot, and it will not happen without input from our community. And so if there are companies and corporations in our community that have done strategic planning. I think that they should be given an opportunity to present, to do a presentation as well. But yeah, the strategic planning, this is not something that's just going to happen today. It's not going to happen in May. It's not going to happen in June. It is a serious process, and it will have goals put in place. So please don't think for 1 minute, to those community members on here, that is not how strategic planning operates. It is a total community effort. And I know in the past, we've been frustrated. I have not always sat on this table. I've sat in various seats as it relates to educating our young people. And I have sat in that audience, and I have felt your frustration. And I hear you, and I have felt your concern. But this board is astute enough, even though we're in our forming stage, this board is astute enough. And I have all confidence in the world that once a company has been identified, everything that is required to as it relates to strategic planning will definitely be at the forefront. So my question is are these the only two proposals? When were these proposals? When was this put out? And is the window still open for any other companies that would like to present proposals as it relates to our exciting strategic planning that we're getting ready to do for Ben Harbor area schools?
And I can add to that discussion, President Robinson, for for Secretary Triplett and all the trustees. We did put out a request for proposal from multiple strategic planning companies. These are the first two that we received back to come to the board. That's why there's no vote. We just want to present all the information, get all the different organizations that do strategic planning, so we can come in front of the board of trustees, or our trustees can make an informed decision. It's definitely something we need. We need a 5-year plan so we can increase not only academic achievement, but also our enrollment, and just be a highly effective operating school district. So our hope is that we get more proposals so that they can come to this board and present to our community, and hopefully in due time that we have an opportunity to move forward with strategic planning. But you're absolutely right. It will always include input from our board, from our community and all stakeholders here in Benton Harbor area schools.
Thank you, Dr. Townsend. And I do want to, I think you answered my question, so that we still have the proposals. People can still put in proposals. So that is an amazing thing. And again, I have all the confidence in the world saying that this is, first of all, something that we need, something that we will have in place, and we will start working on it. So if anybody is interested in putting a proposal in from this community that meet the requirements, you are more than welcome. If you know someone, I'm quite sure you can get in touch with our superintendent and ask our superintendent to reach out, and hopefully we'll be able to see a presentation from them and be able to make informed decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding the strategic planning proposal that were given last week?
Yes, Madam President, I want to echo everything that Secretary Triplett was saying, and we just need to make sure that with this strategic plan, it's going to be our roadmap for the next 5 years. So as a community, we have to make sure we unify behind that vision. That's why we want the community to have input, so that we can know where we're going and which direction we want the district to go. And with that, strategic plan, it'll give us a vision. And the next thing with that, once we adopt a strategic plan, once we find the firm and we go through that process, we must stick to the vision and the plan. And with that being said too, we also got to make sure that it's flexible. So if something changes or dynamic changes, then, everybody won't be saying, well, we had a strategic plan, we're not following it. No, we're going to set it up to where we can make room where it can be flexible. So if we up there are off by a number or something, that we can, make sure that we're sticking to that plan.
Thank you, Vice President Bradley. Any other discussion to be added for the strategic planning proposals that were presented last week?
President Robinson.
Treasurer Creighton, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I would just like to also agree with what both of my colleagues mentioned about the strategic plan. Last week, listening to just the fact that it was a discussion, that we're thinking about it, I was so excited to know that we're thinking about it and that our superintendent is looking forward to leading and being a part of this work. As a board member who has a seat for 4 years, thinking about a 5-year plan, it made me feel so good. And also as a parent of 2 children that live in Benton Harbor area schools, with that strategic plan will allow us to, show our parents and prospective parents that we do have a vision, like Vice President Bradley mentioned, that we do have a vision, and that, like Secretary Triplett mentioned, that we want to include our community. And so in that, we can also include a recruitment plan, so that we can show, 10 or 15,000 students that we have lost to neighboring schools, that, it's time for them to see what it is that we're doing. And that, for me, this is a plan of action to call people back home, residents, or former residents, to come home, to be a part of this community in Benton Harbor area schools, to bring their students to be a part of our new Benton Harbor area schools with our strategic plan. All of our students that we've, lost to neighboring schools, even employees, teachers, professional staff. I know that Dr. Townsend mentioned last week that, we are also recruiting for different positions with grants and open positions that we have within a district in human resources. And so I am just so grateful that, we are working on a plan so that we'll have a roadmap to direct our work, and that we can make sure that we're doing what it is that we're supposed to do as board members, as staff members, as community members, as parents. And so I just want to say that I'm excited that we're looking for a company to help lead this work.
Thank you, Treasurer Creighton. Any more discussion on this particular topic?
Madam President. Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes, I wanted to ask Dr. Townsend, have anybody else given any, have anybody else asked you about presenting to the board? Other than the 2 that you got, has anybody else contacted you to present to the board?
No, we reached out to, I believe, 5 or 6 different agencies that does strategic planning. We had 3 reach back out. 2 were prepared to give a presentation. The third organization was the Michigan Leadership Institute, MLI. We don't think they were prepared to do a presentation, which is why we didn't have an opportunity to move forward with them. So we'll be soliciting and looking for more proposals, or requesting for more proposals, so we can have a nice amount of organizations to look to for support with regards to planning. And I do want to echo again, ladies and gentlemen, everybody in the community, we need your voice. We need your support. Parents, kids, everybody. We're going to do it the right way. We need a 5-year plan, and we're going to have the community completely involved. It's going to be something we can own and believe in and execute, so we can increase the education experience for all of our kids. Did I answer your question, Trustee Rocket Martin?
Yes. Yes. One other thing, the community could submit proposals if they know of a bit of people that, or businesses that do strategic planning. Can they submit proposals to you also?
Absolutely. If it's some companies out here that members know, shoot them through. We're going to ask them to give a proposal, and the same thing that you saw the Michigan Association of School Boards and Hazard, Young, and Atia do last week. They'll give that same opportunity, so our community can see all that goes into, or what that company will be offering us if we employ them to support us in strategic planning.
Okay. Is there a deadline? We don't want this to drag out forever.
I don't want it to drag out. Hopefully, if we can get stuff by the end of this month and get them on our May agenda, I kind of want to move ahead as far as putting a plan in place, because we'll be coming out this pandemic soon. And I want us to really be rocking and rolling on something to increase our academic achievement. That's our #1 priority, increasing academic achievement.
Thank you, Dr. Townsend.
Yes, ma'am, you're welcome.
Anyone else for comment on the strategic planning proposals that were provided last week? If not, we'll proceed with the agenda. Okay, moving forward, the next item is committee meeting dates and times, which was reviewed in our last meeting. If you could just open that really quickly. And we'll just be brief. This was just us having a set schedule that's available for everyone to go in and access and reference, so that we can ensure that we're clear on the dates and times of our meetings. You'll notice that the November dates for Finance and Human Resources are noted as possibly changing due to the holiday, but each of those are as they stood. And I know that Treasurer Creighton asked previously about procedure for changing our meeting, which is something we'll be working on as well. But I just wanted everyone to take a look at what the meeting schedule currently is again. Was there any questions or comments regarding the particular schedule as it stands?
Madam President, since there is, I'm not quite sure what word I'm looking for right now, that there may be some conflict for the holiday, we need to go forth and just go ahead and identify. Since we do have our school schedule, our district calendar, which is coming up in a future staff report, then we need to adjust it and make it so that we'll be clear. We don't need to be still waiting to say there might be a change. Just go ahead and have it so that it's posted and we're operating in the spirit of transparency and people can do their planning accordingly.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Any other questions, comments, or concerns on the committee meeting schedule? All right, next item on the agenda is early middle college resolution. Okay, so this was originally under Dr. Shelton's presentation last week. This is the board resolution in support of Berrien County's 5th year early middle college. Says a regular meeting of the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education, the board, was held on the 20th of April 2021 at 5:30 p.m. The meeting was called to order by myself, the president. We will update the members that are present based on the attendance taken by Secretary Triplett. And so it would be notating who supports this particular resolution and who issues the resolution and then who supports it. It says, whereas the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education endorses the 5th year early middle college for Berrien County as a partnership between Lake Michigan College, Southwestern Michigan College, Berrien RISA, and the local school districts with the potential for expansion of additional post-secondary partners. Whereas the Michigan Pupil Accounting Manual specifies that an early middle college is a 5-year educational track designed to allow a student to earn a high school diploma while also earning one of the following: an associate degree from a community college, a technical certificate, or a Michigan Early Middle College Association EMCA technical certificate, or up to 60 transferable college credits towards a 4-year degree from a Michigan public or private school. Therefore, be it resolved that this board and district acknowledge and participating students and their parents, guardians will understand that an additional 5th year of study is required as a condition to confer a diploma for those students participating in the Berrien County 5th year early middle college program. You can scroll down a little bit. This board resolution shall remain in force until terminated by either party with written notice given at least 1 year prior to termination. Students enrolled in the Berrien County 5th year early middle college program at the time of termination will be supported through the completion of their program of study, allowing them to finish the program as shown in the 5-year course sequence. And this board and district, all participating students and their parents, guardians acknowledge that a math and/or math-related course is required with the student's final 5th year as a condition for fulfillment of the Michigan Merit curriculum required. This resolution represents the agreement between the parties and supersedes any prior agreements and/or verbal understanding. If any portion is determined to be void or unenforceable by a court of law, the remainder shall remain in effect as long as the purpose of the resolution has not been altered. So again, that was the early middle college resolution that was originally under the teaching and learning section. Is there a motion to adopt the early middle college resolution?
So move.
Okay, so it was offered by member Secretary Triplett. Is there support?
I second.
Okay, so it was supported by trustee Rockett Martin. Is there any questions, comments, concerns, or discussions regarding the early middle college resolution?
President Robinson, I have a question.
You may proceed, Treasurer Creighton.
Is this something that we're currently doing as a district?
Dr. Townsend, you want to provide clarification? This is something that she was bringing back for us to do again. But Dr. Townsend, do you have any additional clarifications to offer?
Yes, we do offer this opportunity. The goal is to, move forward with it again in the upcoming academic year so our young people can take advantage of the opportunity.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns regarding the early middle college resolution?
Yeah, I just would like to add, President Robinson, too, that I do remember a former student who just recently benefit from being in this program and who's currently attending DePaul University, and that is Kiama Muhammad, who was a part of this program. So I'm excited to see the development of this program and to see more students actually participating and being a part of it.
And I might add, may I add, she's rocking it out as well. So it's definitely an advantage to our students. Any other questions, comments, or concerns regarding the early middle college resolution? Hearing none, we'll proceed with the vote. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bradley.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Bowens.
Yes.
Trustee Buchanan. Trustee Rockett Martin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Dr. Townsend, you're up next for the student board representative.
Yes, and I'm just letting our district and community know as well, again, that we're looking to enforce the student board representative policy. I read it last week, but I'll read it briefly. So the board shall have 2 representatives from the high school student body selected by the superintendent and approved by the board. Each representative shall be allowed to participate in all board discussions and attend committee meetings to which they may be assigned or invited. The student body representative shall not be allowed to vote or participate in closed sessions. The reason why I like to enforce this policy with the support of our board is we're coming back as an official well-oiled machine in a competitive school district. And this is something that legitimizes us if we get our young people a part of the process. So I'm happy to have student board representation based on our board policy. In fall 2021, 2022 academic year, we will have those young people to come to the board to be approved by the board and to represent our students at our Board of Education meetings. Next on the agenda under superintendent business is staff reports. So subject is the approval of the 2021-22 school year calendars. The reason for board consideration is that the Board of Education shall ensure that its school calendar complies with the common calendar adopted by Berrien Risa Intermediate School District. The board shall determine annually the total number of days when the school will be in session for instructional purposes. To avoid the withholding of state school aid payments, the number of days and number of hours will be in accordance with the statute. Policy reference 8210 school calendar. The recommended action is that the Benton Harbor Area School Board of Education vote to approve the 2021-2022 school calendars. That concludes my presentation of the staff report.
Thank you, Dr. Townsend. Can I have a motion to approve staff report S1?
I make a motion to approve staff report S1.
Is there a second or support?
I second.
All right, the motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by Trustee Raquette Martin that we approve staff report S1. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
President Robinson, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am, you may proceed, Treasurer Creighton.
Is this calendar, does this calendar, the way that it is presented, is it going to be, what am I trying to ask? Like, will it be the same calendar for Berrien Risa or the schools in Berrien County? I'm just wondering, will this put us on track with everyone else, or is this the same calendar, or is this different? I know that it was kind of mentioned last week, but I wasn't really clear on what we were saying.
Sorry, we have common dates in here from our Berrien Risa. Every local education agency have their own calendar, but there's some common dates to have some alignment. So for example, starting of school. So we're very excited to be in alignment with Berrien Risa. We work with teachers. Our teacher union was very happy to be a part of the process. Everyone was a part of the process. And it's a legit calendar that we could be effective with.
Okay.
Thank you for your question, Treasurer Creighton, and thank you, Dr. Townsend, for clarifying. Are there any other questions regarding the district calendar? I just want to add that Secretary Triplett made a great point earlier during the committee meeting dates and times that with us securing the district calendar at this time, we can go ahead and make the adjustments if needed to that holiday week for our committee schedule. So we'll be clear on meeting dates and times moving forward. So that's my comment, and I'm excited that we're getting this secured this month. Anyone else for any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the district calendar?
I have one more question. I'm sorry.
You may proceed, Treasurer Creighton.
So, I know that he said the start of school. So will like the spring break and holiday breaks? I'm just wondering because, I know that he said the teachers and everybody. I'm just wondering, because we do have teachers that have we looked at everything as it relates to the different breaks so that there is not a conflict between, the spring breaks or the holiday breaks? I'm just wondering. I'm not against it. I'm just wondering.
No, that's a great question. Yeah, we work collaboratively, and this is what the committee agreed upon. Every district do have a right to use their own spring break. We put it and aligned it for us that works best for Benton Harbor area schools. So it's a great calendar. It's a good calendar from the committee. I definitely support it, and hopefully the board does as well.
President Robinson.
You have the floor, Secretary Triplett.
Yes, in order for our district calendar or our school calendars to be approved, all of these our teachers union and everybody has to be a part of it. It's not just done in isolation. So I know from experience that all of the parties are at the table before it is presented to the board.
Thank you for adding that clarification from your years of experience, Secretary Triplett. Any other comments regarding the district calendar? Hearing none, we'll proceed with the vote. Dr. Townsend, did you already read the actual staff report?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
Did we get a motion? I think I missed it.
We did. There was, I believe we did.
Yeah, Vice President Bradley.
It was Bradley and then supported by Trustee Raquette Martin.
That's where I got confused. Thank you. President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Bowens,
Yes.
Trustee Buchanan, Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
motion carried.
Up next on the agenda, we have Mr. Johnson, who will be presenting for Business and Finance. He is beginning with Staff Report F1 concerning the monthly financial reports.
Thank you. The first staff report, the monthly financial reports. Reason for board consideration is a set of financial reports is provided to the Board of Education each month. Facts analysis. This evening, it's recommended that payments for all of the district's funds be approved for February 2021. Policy reference is 6470, payment of claims. And the recommended action is that the Ben Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to approve the February 2021 payments for the funds listed below.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Can I have a motion to accept Staff Report S1?
So move.
Is there a support?
Support. Oh, go ahead.
So it was moved by Secretary Triplett, and I believe I heard, was that Vice President Bradley?
Yes.
Okay, so supported by Vice President Bradley. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns regarding Staff Report S1? I'm sorry, Staff Report F1. Hearing none, we'll proceed with the vote. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Bowens, Trustee Bowens,
Yes.
Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
President Robinson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next on the agenda, we have Staff Report F2, Mr. Johnson, and that's concerning North Shore School Purchase Agreement termination.
Thank you. Reason for board consideration. A former potential buyer of the North Shore School real property has signed the North Shore School Purchase Agreement termination document. Facts analysis. Nearly 2 years ago, purchase agreement was approved for the sale of the North Shore School. Subsequently, the would-be buyer transferred the purchase agreement to another party, and the property sale was repeatedly and extensively delayed. In the nearly 2 years since this process began, property values have increased and district staff have identified other potential uses for this property. Policy reference is 7300, disposition of real property. Recommended action is that the Board of Education vote to approve the North Shore School Purchase Agreement termination as presented. And I would note that this resolution differs from the one that was presented last week. The attached one is the one prepared by legal counsel.
Okay, you're saying the current report that we're reading now is what was prepared by legal counsel?
Almost. The resolution that is attached to the agenda that states resolution approving termination agreement, North Shore School property sale is new since the last agenda. Meaning since the last board meeting.
Okay.
So were there any adjustments made to it?
Well, the excellent question. Last week, we had simply, I think it was a one sentence resolution that said approving the termination. So there was no formal 1.5 or 1 page resolution like there is this time. So the attorney sent this document. It's a little more formal and a little more explicit than the 1-line resolution or motion that was presented in the staff report last week.
Okay, thank you for the clarification, Mr. Johnson. Is there a motion to accept staff report F2?
So move.
Okay, the motion has been moved by Secretary Triplett. Is there a support?
Support.
I think, who did, I know Vice President Bradley and someone said it at the same time, but I'm not sure who.
Treasurer Creighton.
Okay, so it has been moved by Secretary Triplett and supported by Treasurer Creighton. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns regarding staff report F2?
I have a question.
You may proceed, Treasurer Creighton.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for this. My question is, it says identify other potential uses for this property. And I just wonder, what those uses are.
One is to repurpose the site and market it for another potential use. I'd be happy to.
Okay. Okay.
Subsequently.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Johnson regarding staff report F2?
Yes, Madam President.
You may speak. Trustee
Mr. Johnson,
Vaughn.
were you able to get that property value or how much that property is worth?
We had an appraisal done, I believe it was last fall, and I will be happy to check to see if that was forwarded onto the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead,
I do have a question. So that kind of puts a little something, a little flash to me, but for that to be added to it and us not having that's something that was necessary to be added to the particular resolution. Have this been discussed at the Finance Committee and what have you? So, just for it to pop in there like that this can be used for other purposes and what have you, is that on all properties that to leave it open? Is there any legal reason why we should have that particular wording in there?
This is the same language that was presented 1 week ago. And I'd be happy to go into more detail in a confidential memo to the superintendent to be shared then with the board regarding some alternative uses.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Johnson regarding staff report F2? Hearing none, we can proceed with the vote.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley, Vice President Bradley, Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Bowens,
Yes, and President Bradley was having some phone troubles. I don't know if he's still there.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley, were you able to come back? Motion carried.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Next on the agenda is staff report F3, pupil transportation contract addendum.
Thank you. Reason for board consideration. The pandemic created an unusual dynamic for pupil transportation service in Benton Harbor schools this past year. Facts analysis: when the statewide public school closures went into effect a little over a year ago, school bus service in the district came to a sudden stop. This service did not resume until last September, and then on a limited basis and for fewer students and for fewer routes. Soon after the pandemic started and school closure began in March of 2020, First Student played a key role in delivering thousands of free meals to families in this community. After this delivery service transitioned to other providers, First Student's revenues for BHAS service declined dramatically for the next several months. During the current school year, First Student's revenue from service to BHAS has also been relatively low due to a hybrid learning option hybrid learning options and to 4-day per week school schedule. The proposed contract addendum is being presented with the goal of ensuring that First Student will continue to partner with BHAS for pupil transportation services in the months ahead. Policy reference is payment of claims to be voted on, or I'm sorry, recommended action is that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to approve as presented the First Student addendum to transportation contract.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Is there a motion to accept staff report F3?
I make a motion to accept staff report F3.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by Treasurer Creighton. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns regarding staff report F3? Hearing none, we'll proceed with the vote. Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Bowens,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Buchanan, motion carried. Someone is messing with my sheet. I'm trying to type something on here and it's someone, I don't know, have me locked out of my regular roll call voting sheet.
So can you edit his ability to edit that sheet?
I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Mhm.
All right,
They
awesome.
popped
Thank
off.
All righty. Next up on the agenda is staff report F4, spring budget amendments. Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. Reason for board consideration, budget revisions for the food service fund and also two sinking funds have been prepared to update revenue and expenditure projections for the current fiscal year. Facts analysis, as the district begins its final quarter of the fiscal year, revenue and expenditure projections have been updated for these three funds. The attached budget document reflects the updated estimates. Last week's document set for the staff report included the food service fund budget only. This week's document set includes the food service fund, and it also includes proposed sinking fund budget revisions and the budget resolution, sometimes called the general appropriations resolution. Policy reference is 6220, budget preparation. And the recommended action is that the Board of Education vote to approve as presented the spring budget amendment for the food service fund, the 2007 sinking fund, and the 2017 sinking fund.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Is there a motion to accept staff report F4?
I make a motion to accept staff report F4.
Is there a second or support?
I support. Go ahead.
So the motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by Secretary Triplett. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Bowens,
Yes.
Trustee Buchanan, Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
motion carried.
Next, we have Ms. Gill presenting staff report H1.
Reason for board consideration, a list of employees whose relationship with the board is or will be separated is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis. It is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff listed in the order of effective date. Policy reference 4140, resignation and termination of staff. Ray Kimball, teacher. Jinx Arnold, teacher, JMG. Edwinia Morgan, paraprofessional. Susan West, administrative assistant, and Ryan Goebel, principal. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Thank you, Ms. Gale. Is there a motion to accept staff report H1?
I move that we accept staff report H1.
Okay, is there a support or second?
Second.
A motion has been made by trustee Rocket Martin and supported by Vice President Bradley. Any questions, comments, or concerns regarding staff report H1?
President Robinson, I do have some concerns and some questions, but I will address them at a later date at our committee meeting. But I do, I know that we had talked about these reports being individual. I am concerned about things being clumped in to report. These are individual situations and circumstances. I know that we do have, it's unfortunate, but there appears to be a lot of resignations. And so hopefully we'll be able to stop that bleeding. But these are individual reports, and I think that I think they should be handled as such. We did it one time, and the next time we didn't do it. So we'll take this up in committee. But I do want that on the record, that I do have some concerns about the clumping of all of these into one report.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Triplett. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. Secretary Triplett, did you catch who made the motion and who supported it?
Yes, Trustee Rocket made the motion, and Vice President Bradley did the support.
Okay, can you please call the vote or take roll for vote?
Trustee Rocket Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Bowens? Trustee Bowens?
Yes.
Trustee Buchanan? Treasurer Creighton?
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Vice President Bradley?
Yes.
And President Robinson?
Yes.
I get confused with these titles of motion carried.
Thank you. Well, at least I'm no longer calling myself Secretary Robinson. Secretary Triplett. Okay, we're going to proceed to teaching and learning. We have Dr. Shelton that's going to present, and we're beginning with staff report T1, which is the extended learning plan update.
Thank you.
Dr. Shelton, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to present my 5 slides. So Sue, if you could go to the attachment. Thank you. Perfect. Our first page, we're going to cover tonight, just very briefly, the progress on educational goals. Since we have not had testing of NWEA, I'll share with you the testing dates. The second piece, we'll look at the weekly interaction rates from March 22nd to April 16th. And then thirdly, and what we actually vote on, or you all vote on, is the reconfirmation or confirmation of our instructional delivery. Spring assessment. The assessment that we will be looking at in June is the NWEA. That window opened, and we will be finishing by May 7th, the NWEA. So we will have a good report for you on June for the last board meeting of the extended learning plan. I did want to share that we do have our M-STEP dates in front of us. The window for grades 5, 8, and 11 was extended to April 12th until May 22nd. For grades 3, 4, 6, 7 was extended from April 26th to June 4th. For grades 8 and 9 and 10, the PSAT, the April 13th and 16th through the 16th. The SAT, which is the 11th grade and sometimes 12th graders, April 13th, which is actually April 13th and 14th, I believe, because there's always a makeup day. And the same with work keys, April 14th, and I believe the 15th or the 16th, they allow for a makeup day. I did want to clarify in sharing these that with M-STEP, so the first two bullets, correct, the first two bullets, these are windows that we can test at any time during this window. April 12th was right after spring break. We did not test right after spring break any M-STEP. Actually, today was the first day of any M-STEP testing. And we cannot begin 3rd, 4th, 6th, or 7th grade until at least the 26th of April. And I believe that the elementaries are planning to test the first week in May with the M-STEP window. As far as the ACT work keys, I should say ACT work keys, in the PSAT and the SAT, the district does not, no district has any say on these dates. These dates are set in stone from the College Board. They have always come directly after our spring break, unfortunately. Next year, because we're going to the common spring break, which it will be in March, we actually will come back and have more time coming right off of spring break for the SAT and the PSATs. NWEA, like I said, it's going to be all grades. We're starting April 12th to May 7th. We would love to have that pushed out a little bit further, but NWEA testing is also part of teacher evaluation, so we do have to have a closer deadline on that. Thanks. Our interaction rates are as presented. I think I have a couple of notes. I always note there's an asterisk with CAPE. Their percentages are always going to appear low because I believe they have somewhere between 5 and 7, I want to say, I don't have my notes in front of me, early completers, but they have to remain in our system because they would like to graduate with their class in June. And so they remain on our books, but attendance is not required for them. And I did want to note for Benton Harbor High School, the week of the 12th through the 16th, we did notice a huge drop. But we also know from the phone calls that we received from our parents after the governor's announcement that the recommendation for high schools to go virtual for 2 weeks, we believe it was just misunderstood that some people believed that we were going virtual and kids stayed home that first day. And I know attendance was up the second day, but it was definitely enough to affect their two-way communication and or their face-to-face present. And then the last slide. We will continue with our instructional delivery K-8 face-to-face, K-8 virtual synchronous teaching, who volunteers to be in that. 9-12 for the first time did return back to face-to-face on a volunteer basis. And we continue with 9-12 both synchronous and asynchronous, meaning that some of the virtual is in front of a teacher and some of the virtual is working independently on Edgenuity. So there will be a change that we note. I will go to our staff report. Subject: reconfirmation of extended learning plan. Reason for consideration. On August 20th, 2020, Governor Whitmer signed House Bill 5913 into law as Public Act 149, Section 98A, states that in order to receive state aid for 2020-2021, districts must provide for instruction under the extended covert learning plan that has been approved by an intermediate district or authorizing body. The plan must be reconfirmed each month at the monthly meeting of the school board. Facts and analysis. In policy 0122, board powers, the board has the responsibility to the performance of any function related to the operation of the district in the interest of public elementary and secondary education in the district, including A, educating students, B, providing for safety and welfare of students while at school or at school-sponsored activities or while en route to or from school or school-sponsored activity. Policy reference Michigan Public Act 149, Section 98A. Recommended action that Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education reconfirm there is a modification to the instructional delivery mode and the COVID extended learning plan.
President
you.
Robinson? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Shelton, for your presentation. Yes, Treasurer Creighton?
I just had a question. Is there a public participation section on that presentation?
Yes, there is.
Okay, thank you. I was just kind of wondering.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we are allowing public comment currently on the extended learning plan. You're finished with your presentation, correct, Dr. Shelton?
Correct.
All right. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 3 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak: public comment on agenda items, public comment on the extended learning plan, and open public comment. Per policy 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments by an announcement of your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once during this meeting. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. Is there anyone who would like to provide public comment on the extended learning plan? I only see one hand. I believe that's Ms. Triplett, but if I'm not mistaken, you spoke during the first public comment. Is that correct, Ms. Triplett? Can you all hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Sorry. Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, if you had additional questions, you can email those to liz.goodwin@bentonharborareaschools.org and just indicate that it's specific to the extended learning plan. Is there anyone else for public comment on the extended learning plan? Hearing none, Dr. Shelton, you can proceed.
Thank you. We are bringing before you staff report T2, and this is a request to amend our high school course guide.
I'm sorry, Dr. Shelton, we didn't actually vote on T1.
Oh, okay.
Is there a motion to accept staff report T1?
I'll make a motion to accept staff report T1.
Is there a second or support?
I second.
Okay, the motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by Trustee Rockette Martin. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns from the board regarding the extended learning plan?
President Robinson.
You have the floor, Secretary Triplett.
I was looking, I'm kind of confused when I looked at the agenda and the extended learning updates and the PowerPoint that was presented. As chairman of the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, I am very concerned that last week was the first time that I heard that our students would be taking the state examination. I guess I would like to ask Dr. Shelton, when did the district find out that the state was going to require all schools to take the state examination.
We've always known.
So our district have always known that we will be taking the state examination.
Correct.
I like I said, that was my first time ever hearing that they had made that decision that we were going to take the state examination. I was very concerned that in that particular committee that we had never heard of this, knowing all of the requirements, you know, a plan that has to be put in place, the securing of documents to ensure that the testing is not compromised. Our students coming directly off of spring break, and with the SAT, as you stated, the SAT and the work key, those are specific dates for juniors and seniors. And since our seniors did not take the test last year as juniors, hopefully all of our seniors and juniors were given an opportunity to take that particular test. Again, the state has the authority to come in and to check this plan. And I was wondering, is there a plan in place that was submitted by our teaching and learning division as related to our students taking the state examination? You know, the rooms, the spacing, the seating, the chairs, the ordering of materials. Because again, I was very, very shocked to even find out that that was even a consideration. The last I had heard of last year, they did not take it, but this year that was something that was very shocking to me. And I do have some concerns, and I'm quite sure we'll be able to discuss them later at our committee meetings. And I also will be sending some information to the superintendent. But I was very concerned that even it appeared to me that from what I heard in the community, having great nieces and nephews who are planning to take this test and who had to take this test, that they did not know. Parents were not informed that this was happening. This window was open, and I'm very concerned about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Any other questions, comments, or concerns regarding the extended learning plan?
President Robinson.
You have the floor, Treasurer Creighton.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I just kind of wanted to back what Trustee Triplett stated, because we did have parents that, you know, have shared their concerns about the dates. And I'm not positive on this, but I was under the impression from an email that I received, I thought that the window was extended. And so I was kind of concerned as to why, you know, I know that it's not a best practice to take a test right after break, you know, with all of the barriers that our students are already facing and with COVID. So I just kind of wanted it to be on the record that I too have some concerns, because I thought that the window was extended. And, you know, I just want to make sure that we're doing what's best for children first, and then staff second. And, you know, I mean, so I just wanted that to be kind of noted, that, you know, in the future, we can make sure that we're doing best practices for children, and that we're not putting them in situations and they already have barriers that are working against them.
May I ask a question?
You have the floor, Trustee Rocket Martin.
Dr. Shelton, in the past, all of our testing dates were set by the state of Michigan, and we were not allowed to choose them nor change them. Also, we had a window that we had to test. So my question, and in that window, we didn't have to start as long as we got our kids tested within that window, we were good. So we didn't have to test the very first day that testing was going on. But all the testing days were set by the state of Michigan. Is that still so?
Yes, you're correct. I think one point of clarification that would help in the form of either, I don't care, a question or an email is this conversation about MSTEP or is it about, I know I have MSTEP because sometimes we think of MSTEP and MME as an umbrella, or is it about SAT? The only testing of MSTEP that has happened began today. There has been no other MSTEP testing. Grades 3, 4, 6, 7 can't even begin until the end of April. So they won't begin, the window won't open until next week. I think, so yes, Trustee Rocket Martin, the SAT, the PSAT and the ACT, that we get, no one gets a choice on that. And we tested, we actually had a testing window that was voluntary, I want to say in the fall. So some of our kids that missed out last year were able to take it on a voluntary basis, you know, for college admission and different things like that. But ACT, PSAT, SAT, that there has never been any talk of them not testing. There was only talk of submitting a waiver for MSTEP, but that's all. We had information that there was going to be a waiver set, but it was denied. So we have always planned to test MSTEP. And like I said, our 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 7th graders will be testing at the end of the month into May.
Thank you.
President Robinson.
You have the floor, Secretary Triplett.
Yes, I'm clear on this. I'm clear on the testing. I'm clear on the guidelines. So I wasn't confused, and I do see the window. My question and my concern was, I never heard. I knew that it was being discussed and that they had requested that we do not take the MSTEP. The SAT is a national test, and it is set, and it's just set, and that is what the state chose for the juniors to take, and for those seniors who missed out on it to take it again. So I was clear on that. That April the 12th, the day that they took that test, they had to take that test on that day. That has always been the standard. So I'm clear on all of this. I am just very concerned that the work session was the first time that this was even brought up, that this was even happening. And again, parents were not able to prepare. I don't know if this is true, what type of notices went out. I didn't hear anything. So that was my concern. So I'm not confused or asking for clarification on any of this. I am aware of all of it, but I am very concerned about the information given to parents, to the public, and to this Board of Education as it relates to our students taking the state examination, and the statement that, you know, they have taken away the 95% requirement. I hope that this does not give our district, or I hope that our district does not think that we should not still try to attain that goal of reaching that 95%. Because we were set, one year, 63% of our students tested, and that put us in a terrible situation. And the state came in and almost literally took our school district over. And as far as our testing supplies, there is a lot that has to take place, and those items must be secured. And there's just a lot that I'm quite sure many of you all on the board are not aware of. But when I heard that we were taking it, I was very concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Any other comment regarding the staff report T1 on the extended learning plan? Hearing none, we'll proceed with the vote. Secretary Triplett. You're on mute, sir.
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes, sir.
Trustee Bowens,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Buchanan, motion carries.
Next is staff report T1 high school course catalog amendment to page, which is noted on page 5.
Thank you. Subject, Benton Harbor High School Course Guide Amendment. Reason for consideration, the board annually approves the high school course guide. The high school course guide for 2020-2021 was approved in August 2020. Due to COVID-19, the 22 credit requirement for graduation as approved in the catalog is being amended to reflect 18 credits. Changing the credit requirement for our graduation aligns with the same adjustment made for 2019-2020 seniors when the COVID-19 shutdown went into effect. By approving this credit requirement, we will ensure equity for those students most affected by the pandemic. Facts and analysis. The guide includes information on all available courses, information on personal curriculum, individual development plans, and options for earning credit. Policy reference 5460 graduation requirements and 2230 course guide. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education approves the amendment to the Benton Harbor High School course catalog.
Thank you, Dr. Shelton. Is there a motion to accept staff report T2?
So moved.
The motion has been moved by Secretary Triplett. Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Secretary Triplett and supported by Vice President Bradley. Any questions, comments, or concerns regarding staff report T2?
Yes, President Robinson, I did inquire last week and asked our superintendent to possibly look at this requirement, since this is the state requirement, for us to look at this and think about this as a Board of Education, that this becomes a norm for Benton Harbor area schools. I do remember when the Board of Education transitioned to requiring 22 credits for graduation, that we lost students because some of the other districts did not have that steep of a requirement. Looking at where we are with our students and the gaps that we have, and just the scores and our test scores and what have you, I think that that would give us some wiggle room to make the necessary adjustments that will strengthen our elective categories for students that still that are on point and on target to graduate, because they can get 24 credits to graduate. But I would definitely like our superintendent to look into that, if you will, sir, and to think about how we could possibly do that so that we can become more competitive and stop the bleeding, and that is not by any means asking us to lower our standards and our requirements for our students with middle college, early college, looking forward to dual enrollment types of situations. I think that would be something that would really take us to another level if we look at that. But thank you so much for this privilege to speak.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Any other questions or comments regarding staff report T2? Hearing none, we'll proceed with the vote. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
You're muted.
Thank you. I'm sorry. President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bradley.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes, sorry. My phone was freezing.
Yep, I understand. Trustee Bowens.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Buchanan. Motion carried.
Next, we have Student Support Services. Mr. Miller presenting the Concentric Educational Solutions update.
Thank you, President Robertson. So our Concentric Educational Solutions update for November through March. The snapshot of our 270 students that had home visits. We had 337 home visits for those students, 157 hard contacts, 154 soft contacts, which led to letters left at the house, 26 no contacts. So the percentages were 47% hard contacts where we spoke to someone. The soft contacts was 46% and no contacts was 7%. So the hard contacts outcomes out of the 157, 81 home visits were met with parents or guardians, met with family members, met with students, or we met with the current resident, which was an incorrect address, or we met with a family friend. So the primary reasons for absences, we found out that it was visits for wellness checks for COVID-19, issues managing online learning, and we found out it was for low academic performances as well. So Concentric, after we do these home visits, they meet with our administrators and our support teams. I schedule those meetings with the building administrators. I schedule every meeting with Concentric in our building to bring back this information. So it helps out with our contacts and our outcomes. So the buildings know exactly what barriers and obstacles our families are facing. So this is a snapshot of until March the 19th. We just finished over 69 home visits this past weekend for 68 of our students. And that's the end of the updates.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Are there any questions, comments, and concerns for Mr. Miller on the Concentric Educational Solutions update?
Yes,
All right.
President Robinson.
You have the floor.
Yes, I did ask some questions last week in the work session as it related to the number of students that the number that we have, and the superintendent did give clarification that there were 400 students that that were being serviced. That was a goal for us to be able to make sure that we've had the hard contacts, that we know where they are, and all of these things. And I'm looking forward for the next report. Hopefully we'll be able to see that all 400 of those students and families and parents have been re-engaged and have been contacted, and that we have the data necessary that in order for us to be able to say that Concentric was a great investment for Benton Harbor area schools.
And I do want to add, I know Mr. Miller just gave an update, but I just received today an update that 400, this says 337, but we have 406 home visits completed. This says 270 total right now, 338 students. So I know they were all through the city last week, up until last weekend. So we will have this updated information for the board when we come up at our work session next month. Thanks so much, though. As you can see, hopefully this data does show there's a major need in how this pandemic has impacted our young people. We as a district would do everything we can to give as much grace as possible. I'm also working with our court system to ensure that our young people are not penalized for the challenges that they go through with regards to the pandemic. So thank you all for the support, and also thanks again to the Education Foundation, Benton Harbor Education Foundation, for supporting us with this as well too.
Yes, Dr. Townsend, another thing that I asked last week, I had some questions as it related to our student advocates that we have listed in our buildings the interaction. I mean, you know, when it was presented to us, it was presented to us to let us know that employees who were student advocates and doing working with truancy and what have you in the building, that this was not a replacement for their positions. But I have not been able to get any type of reports as it relates to this particular external provider and their relationship with those entities that are already in place that are employed by Benton Harbor area schools. And so if you all have some kind of data that will support and give us some information as it relates to their meetings and how they've met with our student advocates and truancy officers and even our principals, that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, no problem. I don't think it's, so one thing we did know, there was not a system that was inherited with regards to home visits. And also because of the pandemic, we know that we had some individuals scared for kids to come back to school. So I, as a superintendent, did not mandate our actual staff to go into kids' homes. And that's why we reached out for the support with Concentric. But we can definitely share the meeting schedule that Concentric did with all of our principals and their support staff. Hopefully, this is the goal in the future. I'd love to bring back family and community engagement, which is supports attendance, back in-house to the district. So as we come back in a traditional setting, we'll have all of these systems in place. This was a support to keep people safe. I didn't want to send our staff members into people's homes or mandate that, especially when teachers didn't want some young people not to come into school due to the pandemic. But more than happy to get as much information to our team as possible so everyone can just be in the know. We can be as transparent as possible. And most importantly, so we can continue to support our young people.
And that was our student advocates already had. I didn't see when I looked at when the list was sent some months ago from the Human Resource Committee. I did not. I saw and looked at their job description.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bowens, can you mute your phone, please?
Sorry.
But that our student advocates already had relationships with parents prior to the pandemic, and they had that type of information. So that's why I just wanted to see the connection, and even if there was a connection, and if not, you know, the goal is for Benton Harbor to first of all inspect what it expects. And the goal is also for Benton Harbor area schools, our children, our students, and our families get everything that we say that we're going to give to them. And one of the most frustrating piece as I campaign throughout the community, and just to hear, you know, that many things like this where parents were not involved and engaged with many of the reasons why people took their kids out of our district. And so this is this is something that I have had my eye on for some years and how we improve it. So, you know, I'm looking forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns for Mr. Miller? Hearing none, we'll proceed with the agenda. I have nothing that I have specifically for this meeting for old business. Any old business? Any new business? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to open public comment.
Madam President, sorry. For new business, I guess, do I need to email you to have it put back on the agenda for next month's meeting, that we go back to one work session, one meeting, and keep our committee meetings?
So what I have to look into the complaint that was filed, and that's something that we'll have discussed prior to next month's meeting agenda being sent out, okay?
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, next we're on to public comment. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 3 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak. Public comment on agenda items only, public comment on the extended learning plan, and open public comment. Per policy 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments by an announcement of your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once during this meeting. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. If you have specific questions for the board or the executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to liz.goodwin@bentonharborareaschools.org. Is there anyone that is currently on the line for open public comment? The first hand that I see is Mr. Arnold, I believe Jinx Arnold.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Jinx Arnold, former teacher. My name was up there on the resign list for JMG teacher. Just want to let you know also, which was unlisted, that I also resigned as being the head football coach at Benton Harbor area schools. And for some of the reasons here, I'll let you know, basically lack of support, feeling unwanted and welcome. I did not feel expected to be treated as if I was from a majority Black school, as me being African American. I also felt a lot of personal attacks. One example is locked out of my office, my coach's office and building, due to the fact I wanted to upgrade the building just by doing some painting and putting monitors up. I was locked out due to safety hazard, which has still not been taken care of. There was chains and padlocks on the doors. I can guarantee you right now that that safety hazard is still in there, which was the pool being filled. Also, I would just say athletes need their community support outside of basketball. There's multiple sports at your school, not just basketball, and the student athletes wants to feel important playing other sports. Students need to be valued and cared for by staff. All right, me just observing, I really do not see that. And staff and faculty members also feels unvalued as well. What I've also have been experienced is there's a lot of egomania, and I'm not working for egotastic people, so I will not stroke any egos. So that's another thing that I decided that I've seen here, and the egos has to go if you guys want to be successful here. I did not leave Ferris State to be undervalued here at Benton Harbor area schools. And I can guarantee you that I am the best young African-American coach that Benton Harbor area schools will have, that has the whole package from caring and loving on and off the field for student athletes and their well-being. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. The next person that I see with the hand raised is Mr. Alexander Robinson. And I'm going to have you pause for a second until she can reset the clock. All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, members of the board. My name is Alexander Robinson, address 870 South Crystal. And my comment is with respect to the issue you were discussing. And there was a question about how many credit hours a student should need to graduate. And Mr. Triplett noted that some of the students went to other districts when we raised ours. I think it would be helpful to have a chart which shows which districts require which graduation requirements, so we can say, hey, this is where we fall, providing a certain number of hours per different credit, and then just seeing what those requirements are and where the deviations are from the state requirements to see how we can be flexible while providing our own educational standards.
Okay, are you finished with your comment, sir?
Yes, I guess that's all I have to say. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robinson. Next, I see Patty Hines.
Yep. Hi, that's Patty Hines, 1452 East Downing, Benton Township. I just got a couple, a remark about removing the work sessions. I don't think that's really a wise decision because as it is, don't you guys have the work session so the presentations can be made and then it's discussed with community members before it's voted on? I think they're kind of important to keep. And if people don't have the time to partake in them, maybe they shouldn't be on the school board. And I have a question for Mr. Bradley concerning the Black Wall Street. Why have that removed from the agenda? It would benefit the school, the children, and the community. And I'm just trying to get my head around why anybody would not be interested in that for the betterment of the school and the children. This is a good thing. It would bring in grant money and it would keep the school safe. I'm concerned when I see members of this community going against what is best for the community. And I say this because I've seen the whirlpool square dance they can do with the school too. The board's done it before. I'm paying attention this time. I did see a good thing though on the news. The students are being looked out for their nutrition and their food. And I commend the school, especially Mr. Townsell, for that. It's a beautiful thing to take care of the children. But the Black Wall Street zone is important because that will help take care of the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. Anyone else for public comment?
I have my hand raised. Do you see it?
One sec. Who's that speaking? You can proceed. I was making my way down the list to look for hands raised, but you can proceed.
Okay. Hi, I'm Gwen Swanigan. Oh, I'm Gwen Swanigan and Sharp Foundation, 108 Water Street. I just like to say, this meeting, I'm very appalled at how this meeting has transpired tonight. The meeting was hijacked, in my opinion. It's a disgrace to the board, to the community, for a trustee board member to actually scream and holler at other board members in front of the community. That's a disgrace. That's a disgrace, and it's unprofessional. And it's just ridiculous on how that transpired. It's unacceptable, actually.
Excuse me, Board President, this is an attack and this goes against our values. I ask that you.
No, I have my opinion. And
Please allow the public comment. Thank you.
I'm sorry?
I was just asking him to allow the public comment.
Thank you. Because it is a disgrace on how you have to be professional in what you do. And being on the board and talking like someone has talked, like he talked, it's just should be unacceptable.
I'm sorry, President Robinson, this is against our values. This is an attack on me, and our board policy states right before you read the comments.
This is what I'm talking about. This right here is unacceptable.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask that. So can we pause the time on the comment, please? Okay, and I'm just gonna ask that everyone mute for a quick second. And Ms. Swanigan, I promise that I'm going to allow you to have your time. But I think—
Can I get some time back, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll try to give you about 20 seconds back. Does that work? After the 103, I'll give you about 20 seconds. And you all will have to forgive me because I know that this is not necessarily an agenda item. But I think right now, given everything that is occurring and transpiring in the meeting, I think that I just need to do a quick review of our board norms and our 7 norms of collaboration. And this is strictly meant to assist with the flow of public comment and the remainder of our board comments for this evening. So you all have to forgive me. So our Board of Education norms are, we will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas and not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. And then our 7 norms are pausing, which is pausing before responding or asking a question, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. So I'm just gonna ask that members of the public as well as the board keep our board norms and our 7 norms of collaboration in mind with making public comments as well as comments for board wrap up this evening, because we're almost there. And I know it's been a heated conversation this evening. And so we want to ensure that we as a board can conduct business civilly and that we can interact civilly with the public and that the public can interact civilly with us. So I'm going to go ahead and allow Ms. Swanigan to proceed with her comment. And I apologize sincerely for the interruption and request to pause, but I just think we really needed to get that information reviewed before proceeding with the board comment. So you were at 103, and then we're gonna make sure you get an extra 20 seconds. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Again, just the disrespect of the whole conversation. It was just disrespectful to the community and to the board. With that being said, as far as the Black Wall Street zoning, I don't understand. I have a question. Did any of you read that? If you read it, how long, I mean, we sent that to you all, I think last week. And how long is it gonna take for you to read it? We had, I don't know how many people online last week, and 5 of the youth dropped off because we waited so long towards the end of the meeting. They had to leave. To me, that was disrespect to the community, to the youth. And I'm telling you guys, you all are here to do a job for the community, for the youth. And you're gonna have to give an account for what you don't do that's not right for the community. You're gonna have to give an account for that. Black Wall Street zoning, I don't understand why anyone would not want that for our community. If you read it, if you look at it, if you studied it, and if you don't understand, if it's something, you have 370 signatures, that should raise a question in your heart to say, these 370 people, what are they talking about? Let me see what's going on. Let's see what our community is wanting and needing concerning this. And it's not an attack on you or on anybody. It's something for us to come together. And even if it's something that you see in there that you say, well, I don't agree with this, but let's see how we can work this out. We're so quick to say, and a lot of our officials are so quick to say why we can't do something, opposed to coming together and reasoning together and sitting down at the table and trying to figure out how we can make it happen for our kids, for our community. And Lazarus asked the superintendent to put it on the agenda. He said, yeah, it was never on the agenda. So this right here, you talk about strategic planning. This was the strategic plan to stall tonight. To me, that was a strategic plan for this to even be stalled and kick this can down the road even further. And it's really unacceptable, and it's time out. It's time out for games, guys. It's time out. It's time to get down to business. Okay, as my mama said, and I'm gonna leave you with this: enough is enough, and too much stank. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swanigan. Anyone else for public comment? You all be patient with me. I'm scrolling to make sure I'm not overlooking the hand. Okay, so hearing none and seeing no additional hands raised, we are going to proceed with our agenda. Next up, we have superintendent announcements and comments.
Yes, announcements. So I know the week we were away for spring break was Paraprofessional Appreciation Day fell during that week. We want to acknowledge all of our paraprofessionals that work here with us in the district. We truly appreciate you, all of your support and hard work. You definitely are appreciated here in Benton Harbor area schools. Additionally, we know this week, I believe tomorrow, is Administrative Assistant Appreciation Day. And we want to show and give our much love and respect to all of our administrative assistants here in the Benton Harbor Area School District. They do a phenomenal job. They're the heartbeat of the district. They have access to so much information. They continue to keep us rocking and rolling. With regards to the young man with Black Wall Street, I think the young man did a phenomenal job representing students here in Benton Harbor Area Schools. He articulated himself very well. Whatever we can do to continue to give our young people a platform to speak and express themselves, we truly appreciate that. Any students who tried to speak in the past, we'll make sure that we give you preference and deference so we can hear your voice, because your voice definitely matters. And thank you so much for sharing the information. With regards to Black Wall Street, I did have an opportunity to read it. So I appreciate it. I've received that report, I believe, when I first started last week with the Fresh Start initiative as well, too. So I'll work very hard with our Board of Education and ensure that we do what's best for our community. Again, I want to shout out our amazing technology team. The hard work that they do sometimes goes unnoticed. I know it's a thankless job during the pandemic, but the pandemic has an opportunity to highlight how much we depend on technology in our district. So I want everyone on our technology team to stand up and be appreciated, because thank you so much for keeping us operating. We'd like to congratulate our Tigers basketball team for winning our district championship as well as our regional championship. We believe that we definitely overachieved this season because we were just hoping having a phenomenal season. We didn't know we'd get a couple of championships out the deal and make it as a semifinalist in the state championship. We had some phenomenal student athletes, and a special shout out to our coaches as well. I did hear the public comment with regards to athletics. I'm a former Division I football player, so I support all athletics in our district. I really cannot wait to get out there and see our Tiger baseball team get into action, our track and field, our young cheerleaders. We just selected our junior varsity and varsity cheerleaders. We made sure we promoted that. So I want everyone to know we invest in academics, athletics, and the arts, the 3 A's. Our goal is to enhance all 3 A's, athletics, academics, and arts, and we will have a great school system for our young people to go to. Discovery Enrichment Center will be having preschool and kindergarten roundup on Friday, May 7th, 2021, and Friday, May 21st, 2021. DEC is planning to have an outside, safe, and social distance carnival-style registration. Flyers will be coming soon, but feel free to share this information by word of mouth right now. Please also know that families are able to register for preschool and kindergarten now. They may do so by going to the preschool Discovery Enrichment Center as well as Benton Harbor High School. We'll get them locked in. We were excited to celebrate women. Every Wednesday in the month of March, Discovery Enrichment Center celebrated Women's History Month by having a group of successful women come in and interact with the students by reading a book, speaking, dancing, and doing science experiments. The students really enjoyed the Women's History Month festivities at Discovery Enrichment Center. And very last, they will be having their kindergarten graduation. More information will be coming soon. Also, we will have more information about end of year activities at our high school. We are looking to plan a prom for our seniors. It won't be, we're working with the health department, Berrien County Health Department, recommendations on how we can safely execute end of year activities. Additionally, the team is working extremely hard with regards to graduation. In my perfect world, if things were safe, I'd love to have a graduation where families and friends can celebrate our young people who navigated during this pandemic and earned their high school diplomas to go off to post-secondary opportunities. That concludes superintendent comments. Thank you so much, President Robinson.
Thank you, Dr. Townsend. Now we have board comments. Tonight, we're going to begin with Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Rocket Martin?
Yeah, I had to unmute.
Okay.
I'd like to say, I'm glad you read the norms of our board. I was just jotting down a little note of my comments. And one thing that I wanted to say was always assume positive intentions. If you have that frame of mind, then wanting to get more information does not have to be a negative. It can be a positive in your favor. So I'd like to say that. And then, and not assume that we all have hidden agendas. It may be so, but if you keep a positive mindset, you can work through that. The goal is for us to be as one. And personally, I did want to hear the information from the Black Lives Matter. I don't believe it was our intention not to hear and not to be positive toward it, but it is tabled. So therefore, we'll just have to move on from there. But if we can keep that in mind and to pause and to be respectful to each other and to be polite to each other, what you have to remember is that the press is on the line. There are other people listening to these meetings besides just us, even in other communities. And the television people are online, the radio people are online, and we have to be cognizant of how we are representing ourselves and our community to others. That's all.
Thank you, Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Bowens.
Before I go forward, I do want to say we were in violation of the revised school code. I just want us to remember that, and if we need to look at that, we were in violation just a few minutes ago. Today, I want to apologize for my behavior and yelling. I want to say something, and I want to be honest and upfront. The games that we want to play is not correct. I would say this, that anyone can be ignorant. I'm sorry, I would say this, that anyone that can be ignorant can be manipulated and can be used as a resource. Today, I got a legal letter, and this is why I asked for that document to be tabled. I got a legal letter from someone from the Black Wall Street zone, or whatever it's called, threatening legal action, or it had no merit. But I wanted to make sure I'm protecting the taxpayers who elected me, the residents, and myself, because I felt like my freedom of speech was being threatened. So I asked that we table that, and I sent the email to the board. They said, well, it was no response. I did talk to 2 board members, and they also agreed with me. So that's why I wanted it to be tabled. During the work session, And our board meetings, no school board meeting should last 5 hours or 6 hours. We have 4 committee meetings plus 2 school board meetings. The information that we need, we could get it from our committee meetings and bring it to the board. We should be able to vote on it. What I am trying to do is make this more efficient. When you are spending 10 hours discussing what you've already would have discussed in your committee meetings, how is this beneficial to the taxpayers? I've reached out to members of management, and they also advised me that it was becoming a nuisance in our committee meetings. That's why I wanted it to go down to 1 meeting. Last week, we've discussed it. It was on the agenda. One of the former school board presidents said if we followed the agenda, we would not be having dysfunction junction. Well, if you look at the meeting minutes from last week and the meeting agenda, it was on the agenda. So that's why it's tabled. And if we want to play these games, this isn't the job for us. If we're talking about putting our children in Benton Harbor, then this is what we need to be focused on. We have people coming from St. Joe talking on our meetings, downing us and downing leaders. They're not paying taxes or a pot to piss in and nothing. They don't care. Their money goes to St. Joe, but they always have something to say about us. And we allow it. I want to allow it, and I will speak up. I'm not apologizing for standing up for myself when I believe what's right. We can talk about how we want to work in unity and togetherness. And I'm not bitter, I'm not angry, but our actions can prove different. Be careful of your actions, because what comes out of your mouth and your actions prove something behind closed doors. Now, this isn't the first meeting where we've been heated. Our closed meeting sessions are even more interesting. That's why I'm trying to minimize this. But if we allow administration to do its part and not over management or bitterness of finding ways that everything is always wrong, then we're going to be stuck in the same position that we've been in. So I don't know what games is going on. I don't want to play them. I will use my legal recourse. And that's why I asked that we do this. But I was elected to represent the children and fight for the children. And I will do that. So I hear a lot of stuff. And I think about this quote from Harriet Tubman. When you hear the dogs barking, keep going. When you see the torches, keep going. Do not give up and do not give in. And I may hear the dogs barking. I may see the torches. And I may see people who have a hatred for me because there's obsession and jealousy. But I will not stop fighting for what I believe in, and I will not speak in truth to power. So we can file complaints on false pretense. We can file lawsuits on false pretense. I am an American citizen first, and I will execute my freedom of speech, whether I'm a board member or not a board member. I will not allow to be used as anybody, and I will not allow to be taken advantage of. And on that note, I say good night and God bless Benton Harbor.
Boy.
Next up, we have Treasurer Creighton. Wait, Trustee Buchanan's not on the line, correct? She hasn't said anything the full meeting. Am I missing her, Secretary Triplett, or she's not present? I don't believe she's present today.
No, Trustee Buchanan is not present.
Okay. Next, we have Treasurer Creighton.
Thank you so much. For the good of the order, I would like to thank the entire Benton Harbor community, whether they're on the line. We'll be reviewing this meeting. I would like to apologize on behalf of the entire school board. I am very grateful for the seat that I was elected into. And with that being said, I know that the superintendent, Dr. Townsend, has shared his interest in reading the 4 agreements. Myself, too, I've read the book and I purchased the book for the entire board, and I do have those copies. When our secretary is back, I will drop them off to her. So with that being said, I would just like to acknowledge publicly the 4 agreements, being impeccable with your words. Don't take anything personally. don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And I pledge to this community and to my colleagues and the entire Benton Harbor area school staff that I am committed to those 4 agreements. I'm not ever interested in going back and forth whenever and whatever I say and do with good faith. It is to make sure that I am in agreement with the greater good of the community. And so I would like to apologize and make a commitment publicly to make sure that I am following these 4 agreements. And I encourage my colleagues to do the same thing. With respect to us tabling items on the agenda, I am not going to comment on those things that were discussed, but I am going to move on and say that I am thankful that our superintendent and his staff is doing some great work and initiatives. It was good to hear that DEC, the Discovery Enrichment Center, is doing that preschool and kindergarten roundup. I would encourage the other schools to do the same thing. Our enrollment is low, and I think it's fair to not assume that we don't have parents that, let's make Benton Harbor area schools a school of choice. And so I encourage the staff of the district to look into doing a roundup, a student roundup period, to try to welcome back our students that are living in Benton Harbor but going to neighboring schools. I encourage our staff and community to invite students that live in neighboring communities to apply for school of choice to be a student in Benton Harbor area schools. And so I am very grateful for the work that the staff is doing and that this board is doing. Although it might not always seem like it, we are moving in the right direction. I too recently watched Harriet, the movie, and it encouraged me. And reading the verdict and watching the verdict being read by our brother George Floyd, it really encouraged me before this meeting. And so again, I am a tiger. I do bleed orange and black. And, I replayed that fight song in my head. And so, I believe in the fight on to victory. I'm grateful that the fight that we're fighting and is on to victory. And so with that being said, I'm thankful and grateful of everyone that said something tonight. And, whether I think all things work together for the good. And so, God is in this thing. And so just be encouraged. If you didn't get an opportunity to do what it was or say what you wanted to say, know that God will work things out so that you can do that. And it's going to be even better. And so I just thank you, Benton Harbor, for believing in me. And know that I represent you. I encourage you to reach out to our board president and our superintendent. If you didn't get an opportunity to say something and you wanted to say something, reach out and let's do this thing together. As we move into strategic planning, I think it's important that we work together. And we won't always be right, and we don't know everything individually. But as tigers, if we work together, knowing that we are predators and never the prey, I think we can move on to victory. Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Creighton. Secretary Triplett. Secretary Triplett, are you on the line?
I'm here. Good evening, everyone. Madam President, we have spent the majority of today together, traveling up and down the dangerous highways in support of an amazing initiative in Lansing at the state capitol, where our mayor, the Honorable Marcus Muhammad, who took the lead and called on every African-American mayor in the state of Michigan, and all of them were there with the exception of one, and that was the mayor from Saginaw. But we had an opportunity to meet every African-American mayor in the state. We were on the state capitol. Our mayor led the way, and the 39, what they call them, Jim Crow law that they're trying to pull to suppress African-American voting, and some powerful speakers there today. And then we got back on the road, turned right back around, and came down here and pulled in the driveway and heard that the jury had a verdict. And I sat there and was almost scared to get out of my car, because I realized, as one of the people said, that I was afraid to hope. I didn't know what the verdict was going to be. And then I come to this meeting. I have been on this board of education for 3 months, 1/4 of the year. And I have enough information for me to go forward and to do the work that I took the oath to do. I want to say too, and not trying to minimize or make anyone small or smaller, I think that we do have a good board. I think that we have a board of education that is most definitely, as our president presented to us, these pillars, that we're in the forming stage. And I think we're transitioning to the storming section. So to those those citizens who were offended by tonight's meeting, I want to apologize if anything that I said or did was offensive to you, but I also want you to understand that it is very important that we get an understanding. I think a lot of misinformation has been put out on several fronts. You know, there was never a time when we were going to vote on a resolution from anybody. The resolutions come from the Board of Education. So I wasn't clear on how it got out into the community that the board was going to vote on something. There's protocols, and there are procedures, and there are ways, that there are systems in place that we are learning. I too was interested, and I was excited. I wasn't intimidated that 300 people were coming to the Board of Education to speak. That didn't bother me at all, because one thing that we have to do is we must respect the citizens of our community, and we must give them a fair opportunity to have a voice, and a voice at the table. And I'm looking at your expressions, and I hope you're looking at mine. Every last one of you, I'm swinging through, because we're not in public. Because it goes all ways. It goes both ways. Because at the forefront of this is our kids. And this personal back and forth has absolutely nothing to do with this Board of Education. Absolutely nothing. And I will not take ownership of any of that. But I will take ownership of the fact that it bothers me, since I've been on this Board of Education, that people struggle with hearing from the citizens of this community. And I'm not down with that. I don't like that. I don't agree with everybody and everything that somebody is saying, but everybody should be given a fair chance to present what it is that they want to present. And this board need to be given an opportunity and a fair chance to process. And just because we don't agree does not mean that we are not worthy. But I haven't come to any decision. I've seen this resolution, I've seen some great work done by Ms. Gavin, some great work done by the Sharp organization, some great work done by Black Lives Matter, some great work done by Stronger Together, some great work, some great initiatives, some absolutely amazing things, some things that are very relevant. Right now, especially as it relates to what we as African-American people are dealing with in this season of our life from a national perspective. And what hurts me the most is that we cannot move out the way of one another. I am looking forward to hearing the presentation next week so that I will be able to make an informed decision. Some of the things I read, some of the things I understood, I'm saying, okay, so now I read this. So if someone could narrow it for me to say, okay, well, what is this? Because there were some things in there that I know nothing about. I knew nothing about blue line and the yellow lining. I don't know anything about that at all. And some of you all, this has been your work. So, to present that to us, this is something that is worth hearing. And I have, to the best of my ability, I have supported indirectly and directly many of these initiatives here. Nobody tells me what to do with me. I make my own mind up. And I don't play games with anybody. And because I say no, that's the way I feel. And you could take it personal if you want to. It's not on me. That's not why I made a decision to get on this board of education. Because I don't need it. I just don't need it. Not like that. I'm not out here looking for people to say, okay, this is what we want from Mr. Tripp. I don't need that. I've been in this fight all of my life. I didn't just come into education. I have experienced personally. And some of the people that have had these conversations that are on here having these conversations with some of the same people that had conversations through situations that I experienced as an educator in this community. But I'm not mad at you because that's the way you felt. And it's okay. I'm moving forward. But my kids, the students of Benton Harbor area schools is getting a poor education. It is not acceptable, the quality and the type of education that they have been receiving. And it is our responsibility as citizens of this community, not only to push our initiatives, but to push all initiatives as it relates to the children of this community. I want to say to the Board of Education, to our president, and to all of the members of this Board of Education, that I am praying for you. This work, had I known that it was like this, I may have reconsidered, because I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about things. I wake up out of a deep sleep with this stuff. I had no idea that it was like that. When I was sitting on the other side of the table, I didn't know what it was. But I do want to say to our administration and to the citizens of this community, where I am as a board member right now, I am really struggling with identifying that fine line that stands right in the middle of accountability and micromanaging. That has been my struggle as a board member, a new board member. How does that actually look? And so I want to say to all of you all, I'm excited about the thing. We got a long way to go. I'm clear. I hear you. I hear all of you. And I'm in it to win it for Benton Harbor Area Schools. One thing about me, I have never wavered. I have never thought about going anywhere else. I have never thought about another school of choice. I have never thought about ever giving up on Benton Harbor. I've been consistent in my commitment to Benton Harbor Area School. So I don't, you know, I don't have those problems as it relates to that. But I do want to say to all of you all, thank you. And we want y'all to keep on coming to these meetings and holding us accountable. And I don't care if it's me. It doesn't matter. It does not matter because you have that right. And I want to say to Attorney Robinson, it is absolutely amazing to see you on the line. You're so humble. And I am so proud of you, Attorney Robinson. And keep on keeping on and keep on coming in and to all of our parents and to all of our teachers and to our staff in its entirety. I'm ready. I got it. I'm clear. And I promise I'm gonna do my best. You might not always agree along the way, but I'm ready to do this thing. And I got enough information right here. I got enough information. This right here, this is just some. I've been where I work. I got all of it right here. I can't present it all at one time, but I want y'all to know that Mr. Triplett is working for Benton Harbor Area Schools, and I'm excited about our next meeting and hearing more about Black Wall Street. I promise Ms. Gavin that I will definitely be reading it in its entirety, and I will reach out and ask some questions. Looking forward to the young people, the students that presented last week. You all were so impressive. I've never doubted the ability of our students. We have some powerful students at Benton Harbor Area School. So looking forward to seeing, to continuing this work, and tell my sister Mary that I love her and I miss her, and I'm going to get in touch with her. All right, thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Vice President Bradley.
Good evening, everyone. I first would like to thank the public for coming out and your viewpoints. First, let me start off by saying that I said I was neither for nor against the Black Wall Street initiative. I want to hear more about it. I want more information. I know we had the students presenting everything, but I do feel that a formal presentation is in order, so that way we can have time to kind of think about the information that's coming forward and what we can get into, and then dispel some of the myths and rumors that we had. So I am not neither for nor against. So I just want people to know that. I want to, first start, I want to make it real brief because I know we've been in here a while. That when I first ran, there was so much uncertainty in the air about whether the state was going to take over our district and do that. And as I've been on the board, I've seen that we stepped up to the plate as a community to come together and be unified to say, no, that's not right. So now with that being said, as I mature in this leadership role, been on this board and serving the community, we have to remember as a community, we may not see eye to eye on different projects and different initiatives, but we have to be united together as a community. We are a unique community. And I used to at first not think about it, but when I hear people say that we're one of the few majority Black man cities in the country, but that also comes with that we have to unify together. There's so much division in the community. And, we really, like I said, we really have to unify. We can't be against each other. Yeah, we're gonna disagree, but we have to come together, solve those problems that got us to a position of where we were and where we want to go. So let's unify. I want to thank my board colleagues, and I also want to thank our administrative staff. You all work very hard to serve our students day in and day out. You all have that 10,000-foot view, and you all make sure that our schools are ran efficiently, down from the superintendent on down. I can start naming different positions, but I'll be here all night because we have a large staff that supports our students. So I want to thank you all, and I'm going to end with that.
Madam President,
Yes, Secretary Triplett.
I do want to say to the public too, last night I was on a board meeting. I have been visiting board meetings, just watching board meetings, tuning in on local board meetings. And I was on a board meeting last night that ended at 12:45 a.m., just for your information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Triplett. Okay, so it is my time for my comment. I will try to be as brief as possible. I want to first begin by indicating that anyone that knows me as a person, as a professional, as a president, and as a trustee knows that I am a person that works in fairness, equity, and equality for all individuals, whether you are a member of this board or a member of the community. I've never shown bias to any individual person, and I try to show respect to all board members when requests to agenda items or questions and concerns are raised to me. That has always been my goal. I acknowledge that I am new as board president. I was appointed as secretary my first day on the board and stepped up to the occasion of board president. And I am doing my absolute best with the experience that I have to lead this board with integrity, diligence, and grace. And if there are moments when I fall short of doing that, I apologize in advance, but I am not a biased person. It has never been a part of my heart to be that way. As it relates to the Black Wall Street Zone conversation or discussion that was initiated in the public comments this evening and last week, my understanding is that the community was coming to speak to us in public comment. And so I looked forward to hearing that information so that I could hear from whether it was 12 to 300 public members about how strongly they felt about that particular topic. There was two things that were mentioned. One, that an individual reached out to me about the presentation, and I did say if I had more questions or needed more information, I would let you know. That was something that I meant after the public comments because I expected to hear the clarifying information in the public comments. That's what I thought was the expected outcome of the meeting. It was also referenced that one of the children wanted to make a presentation. That is not anything that I was made aware of. So my knowledge of what last week's meeting was going to be was the public was going to be speaking to us in public comment. I do acknowledge that it was a long meeting, but I was also here with you. And so the items that were on that agenda were placed by our executive team and some of our board members because it was information that we needed to go over in our April board meeting. It had nothing to do with that particular item of discussion. I ensured that the topic was placed on the agenda this week so that the board could consider it for discussion. But as Secretary Triplett noted, that was not a board resolution for us to place a vote on, but I was wanting us to have an opportunity to discuss the topic because the public did come out and make a declaration of their concerns and interests. So I do want it to be clear that I value all of the input that the public gave and shared with us. And that was a conversation that I was attempting to have today. I believe that the initial request to table the discussion was because our vice president wanted to see an actual presentation from the individuals that organized that effort so that we could get more details as to what it is that you are, what your concerns are and what you want us to support. We just wanted more information. So I want to make it clear so it not be misconstrued on social media, in the media, or any other place that there was no board effort to present this particular topic from being discussed or addressed. And so if there is anyone that feels as though they have been slighted by any way by this meeting, whether it was the discussion that happened at the front about the particular agenda or anything that we've discussed today. That is not my intention as board president. I am humbly here to service not only my board, but the community. And I have shown that in every bit of my actions in every meeting that I lead, and I will continue to do that. However, as stated, I am a member of this board and I was elected as such. I do have a voice and I do have a right to vote, and my vote may not always be in favor of what any particular community member wants, but all 6,000 of you that voted for me to be able to place that vote, and I will. And each of my 7 board members also has the right to place their vote in any manner that they so choose, and we will respect the outcome of that vote as a board when we do decide to vote on any particular issue. So I appreciate and I value all of my board members. I value my executive team. I value our students, all of our members of our district that work for us and volunteer with us, as well as every member of the community that chooses to sit here in our meetings to provide public comment, or those that learn of what we do outside in the community. You are valued. And I will continue to show you that you are valued in the way that I attempt to conduct business in this meeting. So thank you all for your patience and your time that you have provided this evening. I am done with my comments, other than I agree with Secretary Triplett. This morning was amazing to be able to support our mayor in his efforts regarding protecting voting. And so I do encourage you all to reach out to learn more information about that. But otherwise, I am done with my public comment this evening. I am going to now ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move that we adjourn our meeting.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so the motion has been made by Trustee Rockette Martin and supported by Vice President Bradley, I believe. Is there any questions, comments, concerns regarding why we should not adjourn? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for adjournment?
Where'd it go?
The motion was by Trustee Rockette Martin. And
yes, and supported by Vice President Bradley, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. It was second. It was supported. Was it the motion or the motion? No, I'm just kidding. The motion. Second.
Okay. Come on, Mr. Triplett.
The motion for adjournment was made by Trustee Rockette Martin and supported by Vice President Bradley, with no comments, questions, or concerns regarding adjournment.
President Robinson?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Vice President Bradley?
Yes, sir.
Secretary Triplett? Yes. Treasurer Creighton?
Yes.
Trustee Bowens? Trustee Bowens?
Yes.
Trustee Buchanan? Trustee Rockette Martin?
Yes.
The motion carried. The meeting is adjourned, Madam President.
Good night.
Have a good night.
At 9:12 p.m. Mr. Secretary Triplett, do you have that for your records? The meeting is officially adjourned at 9:12 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
And good night to our community.
Good night.
Good night.